wonder if the internet just dropped out
I think
briefly.
that's what happened, but I'll keep an eye on it.
There it is. Back out. Our apologies. Apparently, our YouTube stream stopped transmitting. We have restarted it. We believe the internet must have dropped out. So our apologies. For about 3 minutes, probably. Okay, moving on to the Ulster County Agriculture and Farmland Protection Plan. In your packets, there is a packet on this. I was invited to a meeting on May 5th by the County Planning Department. That was the agenda. Also attached is their draft plan. The county has hired a consultant to work on putting a farmland protection plan together for the county, not for individual municipalities, but they're including us in the discussion. And then the last page, sorry, apparently I flipped those 2 pages on the wrong. The last is a questions that they want to be answered by the advisory committee. And that was a wide variety of people. New York State Ag and Markets, Jeff Keogh is there, Aaron, and a member of the Ulster County Farm Bureau was there. Jake from Soil and Water Conservation was there. A number of different farm-related people. So I just wanted to call attention to it to let you know that that was going on. Also, Ulster County is redoing the countywide hazard mitigation plan. Most of the communities have been involved in this. This is ongoing. Next Tuesday will be the next step. And I've been involving both Jerry Davis and Jeff Fry in this as well. Initially, the consultant submitted to each town requests on specific events that had happened in the last, I don't remember the duration of time, but far enough back that we were addressing the hurricanes, Irene and the tropical storm. And so these are the next steps. And out of this hazard mitigation plan, once the final results are produced, municipalities can then use that data and that information to apply for funding to work on mitigation measures for issues that are identified. So it's pretty important that we participate, and I have been through the process, and I think there's only 3 municipalities that have not been participating. So I'm just letting you know what's going on with that. And finally, broadband, and I apologize, this just came up today. Press release from the Office of the Comptroller's Office, who have been working on the Citizens Commission for Digital Inclusion. The state is looking at digital equity. They are trying to identify not just unserved people, but who those people are and whether it's economic reasons or other particular, whether it's senior citizens who are not familiar with technology, things like that. They try to identify where to focus energy. And so as a result of that, there is a survey that can both be done either online, and it just got it today. I'm going to get it out on our website. I'll get it to you. Maybe we can put some of these on our counter. You can go online and do it. Obviously, understanding that not everybody has the availability. A paper form can be downloaded. It's also being available in all the libraries throughout the county, and they can give in-person assistance. So this little handbook was put together by the county to explain all that. I didn't get a lot of time to really look through it, but it looks like it's the locations where you can go to take part in this survey. It is due by the end of June, and the paper formats are due earlier. I don't know if it says that on here.
Yeah, June 15th.
June 15th. And I think June 30th, June 30th is the online version. I took it this morning. It took me about 7 or 8 minutes. And it will do a test of the speed of the location that you're on during the survey. You can see what your download and upload speeds are, and they ask you to enter that information so they can also gauge within regions how the service is. That's all I have for supervisor update. Mary Lou, anything?
You're muted.
I keep clicking it. It finally went. Everything I have is on the agenda for later on, so I'll just hold off until those items come up.
Okay. Town clerk tax collector report, and I know today was the last day the taxes can be paid, so thank you for Kate and her staff, but
Tax collection today was the last day to pay your taxes to the town clerk's office. We collected a total of $7,446,872 to date. Expect to have more come in the mail in the next couple days. The town clerk for the month of May, $42,021.85 collected. I again want to thank both my deputies, Christina and Courtney, for all their help assisting me during this tax season. That's all I have.
okay. Highway superintendent report. They have been doing road work on, I believe, Scroon Hill Road was one of them. Towpath was another road that was partially resurfaced. I think it was the process called FiberMat. Jeff is doing different types of processes on different roads based on the amount of travel, and some are a full out repaving, some are chip and seal, some are this FiberMat. And it also depends on the original type of material that was on the road, what you can and can't do. So he's trying to get the most value for the funding. We have identified how much CHIPS money we are getting now. It is, it was a little bit more than we anticipated, and we had a little bit left over from last year. So I believe the new number is over 700,000 CHIPS money. We had a combination of CHIPS, Pothole New York, Extreme Winter, and Pave New York are the program, 4 programs. He does owe us the 284 agreement, which states how and where he's going to spend that money. He wanted to wait until A, he knew how much exactly he was getting, and B, he's still working on making a couple little minor changes. He said he should have that presented to us at our July meeting. And Charlotte, I don't know if you remember, so that's an agreement with the highway superintendent and the board of where they are going to spend their funding. And we sign it, he signs it, and then the DPW commissioner from the county signs it. So because the budget was late, he's a little bit late on getting it to us. He had hoped to get it for us tonight, but was not able to. And so department liaison reports. Charlotte, you want to go first?
Sure. So for the housing committee meeting, their last meeting, they had Emily Hamilton and Faith Moore from REPCO came and explained the different programs that REPCO has and how they can help people with finding housing or doing rehab. They're about to roll out an AUD or ADU grants for people in the county. So we're going to get that information from them, and they're going to send us pamphlets that we post at the town hall and just information to have on hand. And in the assessor's office or the code enforcement office for anyone who's thinking about doing an ADU. It seems like a very nice program through REPCO. Some of it's it's like the grant funding money. There's obviously stipulations with it where it has to be affordable under a certain percentage of the median income for who's renting it once it's built. but they're also gonna do landlord training classes for the people doing it if they've never been landlords before, so that it really helps and promotes buildings used to make more of a housing stock in the county. City of Kingston, Revco, and Ulster County partnered on that grant, but the grant's getting dispersed through Revco throughout the county. So we're excited for that. And right now, they're still working on trying to find out all of our housing inventory, available for potential housing sites. And trying to figure out what's going on with the 11 towpath. The four family building there, if Revco's going to be taking that over or not, which is still a question mark. So, they're still on the hunt for that information and trying to make sure that that gets turned into long-term housing for the area. And then the elder care program is still running smoothly, and as it should. Other than that, we have a elder lunch, elder hour information session happening on June 15th here, from 12:30 to 1:30. There's going to be some light refreshment, coffee, tea with people, and just information on different resources that our elders in the area can take advantage of. Joanne at the assessor's office asked if they could have the exemption papers here for
Oh,
people
great.
to great.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, we thought that that was great. My Food Pantry is gonna have a flyer. We're also gonna have flyers from the town pantry here. And then opposite the aging and any other senior resource that's available, we're gonna make sure we have information on for everyone. So that's what we got.
Yeah, Jeremy, the assessor, had heard about it and asked me, and I said to reach out to you to get the paperwork.
I
over,
said that
so
was a great idea, so.
It came up from Marge Bonner during the Board of Assessment Review meeting, mentioned it. And so Jeremy reached out to me and I said, yeah, absolutely, let's get the paperwork over there. So great.
Yeah, we're happy to, yeah, we'll probably have a table of information and any questions people have about what me and Rich are involved with, and I'm gonna see if Ashley and Bethany could just write up a list, like a flyer of all the programs and different luncheons we do throughout the year, and like the yoga classes and paint classes, different things that they can take advantage of and join in on.
I have not heard anything definite, but I did hear the original owner of the 11 Help was possibly going to be paying the back taxes. So I don't know, but
Great, I'll update on.
I will follow up and find out if that is accurate information. I had heard that there was a possibility, and I inquired to the county, or actually Kate helped me and inquired to the county and found out that possibly. So nothing has happened yet, but is a possibility.
It's been a hot topic with the housing committee because it's already pretty much readily available housing site for multifamily, so.
Yeah, the county did take possession of the property, I think last year, so it is in their name now.
Yes.
Okay, Erin.
Okay, so the ECC has a tire pull on June 17th this month. That's a Saturday. I agreed to help promote that because there's a lot of tires in the river. I think they've counted 108 in the little stretch that they're talking about doing. So I'll be reaching out to put that on the website. And they're also looking for people with boats or canoes because you can't participate unless you have a boat or canoe. So that they're hoping to find people that will have extras of those so that more people can participate in that event. The third Thursday this month is on reintroducing cougars to the Northeast. But next month, the topic is on the community choice aggregation. So the chair of the ECC was saying, offered that members of the planning board or the town board might be interested to attend that to learn more about that program. I can email it. It's the third Thursday in July.
Okay.
And then I have an update on, oh yeah, you won't be around. The pollinator garden outside the town hall, the work for that can be done in June. But I just found out that they're requesting that we that perhaps the highway department help remove the plants that are there. So I offered to help see if that was a possibility.
That's easy enough with the mini excavator.
Yeah, okay, great.
Were they looking at reusing those somewhere else? Or-
No, I don't think so.
So we would be pulling them out and probably shipping.
Shipping, yes.
Okay.
I can check with.
You want to follow up
Diane,
with Jeff?
Yeah, I'll definitely follow up with Jeff. And there was one more thing. They also wanted to dedicate when that garden is completed, they wanted to dedicate it to someone. What would be the process for,
Town board would have to do it.
okay, so they should
Resolution.
send us a proposal. Okay. For the planning board, I have that on my phone. So the planning board issued 2 approvals in May. That was for the Harana Market and the site plan update for the Stonehouse Tavern. So those were exciting approvals there was a lot of positive input at the public hearings for both of those projects. They have a very full meeting scheduled for June and continue to see applications in droves and are working on them as quickly as possible. We're also happy to report that we have a new hire starting next week for the planning board and zoning board of appeals secretary, and an exciting training plan that was prepared by Chair Grosso to set up that's a single person department, basically. So there's a nice organized plan for the first week of that position. I don't have the report from the code enforcement office because it's the first. So I don't have their numbers for today. And then an update on our website. The development of our website has been completed. It is currently in quality assurance, and that process takes 3 weeks. So we're about a week and a half into that. And then after that, myself, town clerk Gunberg, and Supervisor Baden are going to do a training so that we can get an idea of what's needed to put the fresh content into the website, at which point we've discussed creating a committee to that would be made up of staff and us to put that all together. So that will be exciting, and I'll keep the board updated on that process next month. And then I have no other updates.
Great.
From Ashley Sweeney, the 2022-2023 after-school program will be coming to an end on Friday, June 16th. It was a great success this year. Thanks to all the counselors who made this year so successful. We can't wait for another one next year. She also says summer program is set to begin on Monday, July 10th. There are plenty of adventures planned, and they're looking forward to getting started. Adult and youth paint classes will be available sometime in the month of June. Keep your eyes peeled for more information, and be sure to check out the Town of Rochester Recreation Department on Facebook. They put up a lot of great pictures and communicate a lot of great information with the rec department. Constabulary report for the month. Here we go. Supervisor Baden, town board members, the constabulary answered 18 direct calls for service and other duties in May of 2023. These include 12 neighbor-to-neighbor and quality of life complaints, 4 resident traffic complaints, Upper Cherrytown Road, Whitfield Road, Sampsonville Road, and Cherrytown Road, 2 environmental complaints, Metacox Road and Towpath Road, 10 new building department violations, 0 court cases open, 9 court proceedings remain open, and 0 court proceedings are closed. Interesting occurrences this month: traffic complaints, including parking on town roads, have been the most common and have increased significantly. Towpath Road being among the worst areas, with many local residents' complaints coming in. Garbage dumping of household trash and other debris on town roads continues to be an issue. Short-term rental properties continue to generate many complaints, especially on holidays, Fridays, and weekends. Neighbor-to-neighbor complaints have increased this month, and most have been diffused without further action necessary. Several others are ongoing and should be solved in short order. Our latest multi-agency academy class is progressing nicely and will conclude in early July. And it sounds like participation on that class is excellent once again.
It is. I drive by there on the way home and there are quite a few cars participating. So happy to hear that. Aaron, a quick question for you before we move on. Did the ECC address that when they pull the tires out, are they going to coordinate with somebody to pick them up, or are they going to? I know in past they pulled them out along Scenic Road because that was really the only place they could pull them out. But being that it's a weekend, I just wanted to make sure that it's been addressed at what's going to happen with the tires after they pull them out.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yes.
I guess I assumed that they had something figured out. What has happened in the past?
I don't remember if they stayed there overnight and got them on Monday. That's what sticks in my head. That's why I brought it up, because I don't remember, because we did, I don't think last year was a much smaller.
Last year, what happened is there were no boats, so they
Okay.
didn't do it. The
So
year
then the year before they pulled.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think we came in on Monday and got them. I just want to make sure that somebody has talked to somebody. and
Right,
it's-
so the highway department usually
I
picks them up.
I don't
or-
remember if it was the highway
Okay.
department or if it was Harry or who it was, so. You may want to check with Jeff.
I will.
Or have them check.
Okay.
So I want to make sure it's addressed.
Yes.
So we don't end up with 180 tires there.
Yeah. Maybe that's what happened. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
make a task.
And just for the public, and I know Dee and Shirley, you probably know, the reason there's this many tires is back during the hurricane. The tire place in Cohasset was underwater and many tires got swept into the rundown. And then over time got buried under silt. And over time they re-exposed themselves. So we've done some great work pulling them out in the past, and it's really appreciative that ECC does this every year on the river cleanup day. But I think they pulled out 130 or something 2 years ago. So the number is just mind-boggling of how many tires actually ended up in that creek. One other thing, Flynn O'Connor from the Trail Committee would like to participate, and I tried to connect he and John, and I don't know if they did.
Okay,
So,
I don't think he's heard from.
okay. So,
Okay.
thank you.
I have one.
Okay,
Okay.
HPC.
So I was unable to attend the last two meetings, being short-staffed, but I spoke with Deb. They are moving forward with the historic signs being restored. I noticed the one in front of Rochester Reformed Church is underway right now. The HPC took a field trip to the Outer Hill Firehouse last week, and Peter Nelson took them on a tour. And they are hoping that it will qualify for one of the historic preservation awards in October. They are working on their Hamlet talks, where they're going to go to different areas, different hamlets in the town, have some locals that have lived there and tell stories of growing up in the hamlets. They do have an event planned at the end of this month. I'd asked Deb to get me some information on that. She told me to reach out to Ryan, so I don't want to share too much till I know for sure. So hopefully by next week I'll have more information. I do know the date is scheduled for June 25th. That's all I have.
I just want to take a second to say thank you to all our volunteer committee members. The amount of work that is going on, there's a reason these reports get longer and longer and longer every meeting, and it's because of all the volunteers who put in their time on these committees. So thank you to the board members for being liaisons and the town clerk. But even more thank you to the people who serve on these boards and commissions and stay involved and think out of the box and come up with new ideas. Remember a few years ago, the HPC was almost non-existent. The ECC had a group of 2 or 3 people who regularly showed up, and now we're almost running out of places, spots to put people. So it's a really happy accident, and the housing committee, Charlotte, doing amazing work. And we're going to appoint our agricultural committee tonight and expect amazing work out of them. So Our assessor, his report, grievance day was held on Thursday, May 25th. They had 4 in-person appointments and a total of 10 drop-off applications for the board's consideration. There were 8 stipulated agreements for a total of 22 applications received. The stipulated agreement is where the assessor and the owner of the property come to an agreement, and then the assessor presents it to the board for review for the stipulation. Requests for supporting documentation have been sent to some properties that did not supply any documentation to support the value that was requested. The board will meet again on June 13th to make their final determination on the cases, and their final report will be issued soon after that because the final assessment roll is posted as of July 1st. Our state equalization rate has been finalized. It is what the preliminary we were told would be 63%, and it did indeed remain at 63%. That means that our local assessments are 63% of the market value of the property. The assessor continues to do property inspections as needed. Within the office, they are working on processing sales, entering building permits, certificates of completion. They're pulling plans in the building department. They're answering phone calls. They're assisting property owners with questions. They assist the public that are walking in looking for deeds, tax maps, and owner information, and numerous other issues. And so with that, we will move on to public comment. Oh, that's why I was short too. Sorry about that. I made 2 new ones. I thought I shorted myself. Yes, I was putting them out. I gave you 3. Sorry about that. Do you have anything you wish to say? Okay. Anyone else?
Young lady was maybe watching, had a comment. And she, I know you're writing. I figured that would help a little bit, but it didn't. All right, you touched on something that I have many questions. And since Mr. Fry doesn't come to meetings anymore, which saddens me a little, I can't ask him, so I have to ask you.
Okay.
Firstly, wouldn't it behoove this board to know what roads he's working on? So if somebody calls and says, can I get this direction? Is there anything in my way? Is he doing a road? I don't see that posted. It used to be. My second question is, if you can answer it, what is the criteria for repairing a road? Okay. How does he formulate, what is his formula for deciding what roads need to be done? Is it by home? Is it by damage to the road? Is it perhaps the length of the damage would play into the cost? What's playing into the cost? I understand some of the things like of mill pave and everything is matched, supposedly matched to the road. I can bring Mary Lou into this discussion because she and I, when I sat on the board, had a discussion one evening about how this asphalt product was going to stick to the road, and we decided we would all have to chew a lot of gum. Well, I can tell you that the year that that road was repaired, it did not, it lasted 2 years. The road I am referring to is Mountain Laurel Road. It is a town-owned road, and currently there are 4 existing homes on the road. The highway department did put ditches on the side of the road, and now they have Hug Mill paved it. Now, I'm far from an expert on this. However, if you should run off that road currently, either side, you're going to either go off the pavement into a deep ditch, hit a tree, stone wall, or you're going to sit there with your wheels in the ditch. Okay? The reason I asked about the criteria for the roads is why on God's green earth would you repave something for 4 houses that didn't stay paved the last time? It broke apart. 4 people. And if that cost you $60,000, I'm just picking a figure. That's $15,000 per house. They did not go to the end. They did not go to where the campsites, the camping, hunting areas are for the campers. I don't think they care. They're just pleased that it's not paved, as are 3 of the 4 other people that live on the road are not pleased, and 1 person is. So that upsets me. Did he ask the people if it needed to be repaired? It probably needed to be tarred and chipped, which would have filled the potholes and would have lasted just as long, and at least the tar would have gone into the dirt, because it's basically a dirt road, except whatever chunks were left from the last time it was paved. I ride that road. My son lives on that road. And the second thing I have to say about the 2 days paving, it's a 1-lane road. They completely shut the road down. Do you know what a dangerous situation that is? There's an 80-year-old lady that lives on that road. If we had to get an ambulance in there, couldn't have been gotten to her. And on a more personal note, and this is purely personal, and I own that, Mr. Fry was asked by my son, please do not do this for X amount of time, and please don't do it on a Monday or Wednesday. And the reason for that was my grandson was taking radiation for a stage 4 spinal cancer. And that has made me very upset. And it's very critical that you get your treatments at the time scheduled and the day scheduled, because that is the way Sloan Kettering set it up. So the 3 things I have to say, if it was 60,000, I don't know, which is way too much. You're not even aware of how much it is because you don't have the 284. You should know this. You should all know how much it's costing you every year going into this, and you should know, and we used to know ahead of time what was going on with the roads, what ones he's going to repair. You should have input into that. If 2 years ago he did Sailor Mill Road and it came up in 2 years, you're still on the board, you're here for 4 unless it's the wrong lapse of time. You're going to say to him, why are you doing this again? What made it break up? Like I'm saying to you today, why would you reinvest in a 1-lane road that takes care of 4 people year round instead of going somewhere else? And I know when my son did find out that he was going to do this, he also asked about the Monday, Wednesday, please don't do it then. But he said, why don't you just tar and chip it? It'll take care of the potholes. Because by the time the winter's over, I can tell you where all that pug mill is going to be. It's going to be on the sides of the road, and there's going to be potholes. I'm not understanding a system that is not working. If he's going to pave roads, it should come to you, even though I know he's his own department. I understand that. He's in charge of the roads. You are in charge of town money. I know he has his own budget, more than well aware of it. I know this. But what I'm saying to you is, I think it was a gross misuse of taxpayer dollars, Pug Mill paving that road. I'm paving it, Pug Mill or otherwise, I get it. Because where it comes out to the end, where it hits the dirt, it's already. And it's been 2 weeks. And now you can't, there's no place to get over. There is absolutely no place. At least we could pull in the ditch before and not have to worry about dragging bottom on the pavement. Now you can't, you're gonna sit like this in the ditch. And that's why I wish Jeff was here, because I really would like to address this with him. It's unfair to you that you're getting this addressed, and I would like to see what from this board to him, even though he's an independent unit, his criteria for doing roads. I really would. He has a whole system set up for plowing them, which seems to work very well. He should also have a system for paving. And I believe you guys should have the reports maybe in March. If he's got a list of roads he's gonna do, maybe he can't give you an exact figure, but he can give you a road list that he's going to do before spring, because he can't get paving or anything else with Callahan until they say, okay, we're making it. Shuts down, I think, in October and opens up maybe in March, depending on the weather. So that's what I'm saying to you this evening. I went looking for the 284 to see what roads were on it. And of course, I didn't find it. I have the one for 21, I have the one for 22, but there is none for 23, as you stated. And that's what I said you had already stated. So I would like to see you, as the board, discuss this with him and bring the results to the public. I don't know who here is his liaison.
There is no liaison to the
Okay, I
highway,
didn't think
but
so.
I sort of serve as.
That's what I'm saying, and I understand if Chips and Pave New York and Pothole, whatever that was, doesn't send the money in time, like you don't get it and do. But
Sure.
where I'm coming from is at least you would have some idea. It always reads 111 miles of road. I understand the cost went up exponentially, but every year it reads 111 miles. Is that really true? Or is that just a copy and paste?
I'll answer it when we're done
I know.
with this.
So I have several. If you can answer all those questions, it will be like.
I can answer many of them, not all of them. So
Anyone.
I'll see if anyone else wishes to speak tonight.
My concern was there was no way a fire truck that got in there or an ambulance. God only knows what could happen. You could have had hikers up in there and started a fire accidentally. These things happen.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
There's someone on.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, the person on the iPhone, do you wish to make comments? Thank you.
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to respond to a couple things. The 284 agreement is due in May.
Yes.
The reason being is the New York State budget is supposed to have been adopted by April 1st. It was over a month late. That is why the highway superintendent has not completed the 284 agreement. In the 284 agreement, it does identify by road name, the type of work being done on that road, and the dollar amount appropriated within the budget that was done in September or adopted in November. So that is the process. Supervisor Fry, based on the fact that it was not until early May that the budget was not adopted, and it was probably a week approximately after that we were alerted to the dollar amount of what would be available for us, because the budget, as you know, is an estimate. I'm not even going to try to answer some of your questions because they are certainly his answers as a separate elected official. I will convey to him that you have a number of questions and ask him to reach directly out to you, and maybe you two can, rather than me being the middle person, happy to do that. I do know that notice was posted that the road would be closed. I don't want to, I'm not gonna say if it was enough, if it wasn't enough. I do know it was posted. That much I know. As far as the day of the week, I do know too, we are sort of at the mercy of the company. I believe in this case, it was Callahan. We are at their mercy of when we can, because every community in Ulster County is essentially using the same companies. So they sort of tell us such and such a day, we can, or such and such days. So I'm not defending or anything, but I'm just saying that I know the scheduling relies on availability of the material and the company doing the work. So, but I will convey your concerns to him and ask him to reach out directly to you. And he is planning to come, I believe, to meet with the board when he presents his 284 agreement. I believe that is the plan. So. Anybody else want to have any comment back?
Why doesn't he come to meetings? In the past administrations, department heads were always present at meetings for questions and.
I can't answer that.
Well, you're his boss.
No, I'm not. No, I am not. He is an independent
I
elected.
said what I.
He is an independent elected official, just as the town clerk is here because it is the responsibility to
Yes.
take the minutes of the meeting. There is no responsibility that any other elected official or department head ever attend unless they're requested to by the board. And even then, with an elected official, we have no, other than
He can thumb his nose and say, I don't want to.
any
Basically.
elected officials can do as they choose. Yeah. So,
Thanks.
okay, I'm gonna move on to town board member time. So do we have any other
I have
matters?
one thing, I wanted to thank Amelia Trempe for, stewarding the Veterans Garden. And especially as someone who is a spouse to an active service member, Amelia took the time to make the garden look really nice ahead of the Memorial Day ceremony. And then I just wanted to raise a question, which is, I committed to trying to help Amelia figure out water access because I did help out with the watering and I know how, why that would be a stressor, especially when it's dry. I hauled buckets from the town hall to water the garden and was sore for 5 days, so I have a low budget solution that would be, a few $100s to run some hose and keep it permanently in like the wooded area and then have hose hookups. And then there would be like something
There
close.
is a hose hookup.
There is, yeah. So I wanted to put something in place so it'd just be easier, but do we have funds budgeted in maintenance that we could use or
That would
should I
fall
need?
under parks, and we do have.
Okay, so should I bring a proposal to the board or should I submit that to you?
If it's
and
under
then-
a certain dollar
Yeah.
amount and it's already budgeted for, we
Okay.
can do it. So if you want to tell me.
It's only
how-
like a couple hundred.
Yeah, tell me how many
dollars,
feet of hose we need to
so- Okay,
buy.
and
we
where
can-
I can, there's like irrigation supply places that's gonna be more cost effective for us to order from, so, okay.
And it's not gonna rise to the level of needing. So-
No, not at
So
all.
pick what you think is.
Okay, I'll send it to you then.
Yeah, and Amelia and I did talk about it. Last year, she actually reached out to me about volunteering to sort of do this and let me know. And I want to thank too, Rick Jones went down and pruned the
I saw
trees.
that.
The 9/11 tree that we received from the graft from the one at the towers has survived. It's moved very well. It's looking great. Rick is very enthused. He and I talked about doing another 4 trees in between the first set of ring that we put and the 9/11 tree. And to make that be more of a grove of trees to sort of offer shade. And so he's gonna that's a fall project. So he's gonna work on getting us some prices of trees. And between Rick being our tree guy and Amelia being our plant guy and ECC, we're gonna have some good amazing gardens around
Yeah.
town. So.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, you know, I feel this way, and I think Amelia definitely feels this way. If we have easier water access, there's more we could do.
Yeah.
And build on, and, you know, I think. So, yeah,
Give me some information.
Yeah.
I just have a question. So for the ECC's fire pole, and it doesn't have to be something for this year, but maybe something like, you know, sort of bug in their ear about is, I know we're trying to update our park every year, and there's tons of wonderful things to do with reusing tires to make playground.
yeah.
To make playground, different like setups for kids, like sensory things and stuff. And it's super safe because it's rubber. So maybe an idea to see if they can save and we can repurpose some of those that we pull out of the creek to add another feature to our playground eventually with them.
Yeah.
I know obviously this year would be,
We'll have to check on the safety, because I
This came
remember
up
when we were
last year.
redoing the park playground, that was brought up of recycled tires, and there was a EPA reason that we should not do that. So I just want to verify that.
no, that's fine, that's why I
Yeah.
said not for this year.
Yeah,
obviously,
no, but I
right,
mean,
but
I
like
think
for-
using tires for playground was like a kind of a no-no, but we'll double check on that. I'm not saying it's, if it works, it's a great idea.
And we should think about something else to do with them, you know, again, maybe there's something we're not thinking about, you know, that, you know, for a retaining wall or
Yeah.
something like that. you know,
Yeah.
We need some.
I mean, essentially, we end up recycling, we end up paying,
Yeah.
we end up paying $4 or $5.
Yeah, and that's-
They turn into like a chipped tire material,
Yeah.
I think.
The company
we
that-
pay like,
That we
a lot
pay
of
to
money.
take them away does something with them in a recycling manner, but I'm not
So
sure.
we-
what-
Maybe
for
we
that.
could research to see if we do, if there's someone like the Lions like Club where we can do the recycling like they did with the truck stacking for the benches to
Yeah.
recycle. it
I know
to
they,
the
yeah,
ground to be like
Yeah.
the
Oh,
on the
and-
playground.
Thank you for saying that. This Saturday is
Oh,
the
yeah.
next date.
yeah, so I was gonna say that.
Anybody who is collecting plastic bags or anything except food plastic bags, meaning like frozen vegetables or frozen food type of bags. Certainly the little plastic bags that if you buy loose tomatoes or something, you put them in, those are recyclable. Ziploc bags. Anyway, the first Saturday of each month, the ECC is hosting what we used to do here at the community center, but we learned that we need to watch what people put in. So the ECC has taken it on, and we've done it 2 months now with great success. And they're gonna continue the first Saturday from, what are the hours?
11:30 to
11:30 to
We've collected
3:30.
80 pounds of plastic bags so far.
And it's the same program, the Trex program is continuing, but instead of leaving something out there that people just put anything and everything in, it was making a lot of work for Ashley and Bethany, and Rita was volunteering her time and sorting it all. This way, we're monitoring what goes in the first place. It does mean you have to collect it for a month, but once a month, you can bring all your plastic to the transfer station. Okay, moving on to resolutions. We are gonna table the May 30th workshop meeting, as that was only 2 days ago. But thank you to Kate for getting and Chrissy for getting the other minutes done. Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the minutes of the May 4th public hearing, the May 4th business meeting, the May 11th workshop meeting, the May 24th public hearing, and the May 24th audit meeting.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you again, Kate. Acceptance of donations, a very good month. Town of Rochester Town Board accepts donations in the total amount of $1,050.25. For the Spring Fling Community Gathering, we received $25 from Alice Gray, $250 from the Rochester Senior Group, $50 from Elaine and Mel Tapper, and $119 in various cash donations at a container that was in place. For the Rochester Summer Program, the Rochester Senior Group, as they have done many years, donate $250 toward that program. The piano was Kuhn and Marjorie Bogert, who's on the Recreation Commission. donated the payment for that, $275. And our clothing bin, St. Pauli Textile, the monthly was $81.25. A quick note, the spring fling, with those donations, we spent, I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it was less than $100 of the whole event. So thank you to all. So I'd ask for that motion.
I'll make that motion.
And a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the next, the award of abrasive sand bids. We did not receive any bids. The company that we have received bids from in past, we believe is not interested in continuing. I did speak with the highway superintendent, and he's going to either advise, we either rebid. We don't need any sand again until the winter at the earliest, probably not until January, because he did at the end of the season. It is fully loaded, ready to go now in the snow season. Because he wanted to buy it while the prices were cheaper. So we either will re-advertise it, or we will go with the county bid, which the county puts out a bid for theirs, and we can piggyback off the county bid. We were in past a couple dollars a ton less than the county bid, but he suspects that with we may not continue at that rate, so that we might, any bids we receive might be very close to the county bid anyway. So he's going to advise me. So for the moment, that resolution is withdrawn, pending decision on where we go next. Appointment of summer recreation program staff. On the request of the recreation director, the Town of Rochester Town Board appoints summer recreation staff as follows, effective June 25th, 2023 through August 26th, 2023 for the rates of pay and hours as budgeted. The summer recreation aides will be Mary Ann Gates, Sheila Brown, and Veronica Swank. Those three ladies have done it a number of years. Our summer counselors will be Cheyenne Freer, Brody Baker, Allie Denon, Sydney Allen, Alexandria Morales, and Sophia Boland. So do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? They, the reason they're starting June 25th is they will do, during that week, they will do their one-day CPR and emergency type of training. It is, I believe it's starting the week after 4th of July.
Yeah, you said July.
Yeah.
July 10th.
So it's going to start July 10th, run for 3 weeks. We'll do our normal 1 week off and then 3 weeks in August. But they'll start on employment at that time so they can do their one-day training. Adoption of the Freedom of Information Policy. Town of Rochester Town Board adopts the proposed Freedom of Information Policy as presented by the town supervisor and reviewed by the town clerk and attorney for the town. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. For the public, this follows state law, but we found that the town of Ulster had put together this document, which sort of pulls everything together into a nice, neat packet to explain the process. We have been getting a lot of freedom of information requests, and not everybody always understands the process. And this is more to have a standard policy. It was vetted by the attorney and by Kate. And we made a couple little tiny minor changes from what Ulster had. But otherwise, this mirrors state law. It's not anything different than state law. It's just everything in one nice, neat little packet to make it easier.
And it's easier to read than the state law.
The best way to describe it is a instruction manual on how to foil efficiently.
Yes.
Saving
So
everybody time.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Next is adoption of local law 6 of 2023. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board adopted a moratorium on action subject to building permits, site plans, special use permits, or subdivision review presented as local law 3 of 2022 on June 2nd, 2022. Whereas the town board has worked diligently this past year on adoption of new subdivision and zoning codes, holding 30 public hearing sessions on subchapters of proposed codes. Whereas the town of Rochester Town Board is completing review of the many comments received from these hearings and believes additional time will be in the best interest of all involved. Whereas the town of Rochester Town Board proposes local law blank of 2023, extending the moratorium until October 1st, 2023. Whereas the town of Rochester Town Board referred such local law to the town of Rochester Planning Board and Ulster County Planning Board for comment. Whereas the town of Rochester Planning Board offered no comments for local law blank of 2023, and whereas the Ulster County Planning Board offered a required modification stating, for the purposes of transparency, the UCPB recommends that as part of any potential extension, that the town share documents with the general public as well as with the UCPB as part of a referral that shows the documented progress the town has made towards adopting updates to the town zoning statute and subdivision of land statute. Whereas further advisory comments were made by the UCPB recommending the UCPB approves of the proposed exemption, I'm sorry, there's a typo there, proposed exempted list, but would recommend that the town consider expanding it further to consider development or redevelopment within the hamlet areas. It also noted that applications for zoning change or inclusion in the EEOO district is exempt. We would recommend that development review in those districts as part of such zoning changes should also be deemed to be exempted from the proposed moratorium. Finally, we would recommend that any proposals for housing with a set aside of 20% or more of units as affordable should also be allowed to proceed as an exempt use. Whereas the town board accepts the required modification and advisory comments of the Ulster County Planning Board, I do need to do an addition there, with the exception of the hamlet, because we disagreed on that, with the exception of the addition of redevelopment within the hamlet areas. Whereas Town of Rochester Town Board held public hearing on local law blank on May 4th, 2023. No speakers or written comment were received, and Town of Rochester closed the public hearing on May 4th, 2023. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board discussed the local law in public meeting on May 11th, 2023, making change with resolution 212 of 2023 to add an exemption for any proposals for housing with the set aside 20% or more units as affordable. Whereas the Town of Rochester Town Board identified such action as a type 2 action under 6 NYCRR Part 617 State Environmental Quality Review, also known as SEEKR, and renamed such local law as Local Law 6 of 2023 on May 11th, 2023. Whereas the amended version of Local Law 6, 2023 was emailed to town board members and the town clerk on May 15th, 2023. Therefore, the Town of Rochester Town Board adopts Local Law 6, 2023, moratorium on action subject to building permits, site plans, special use permits, or subdivision review, and further requests the town clerk file such local law with the Department of State and notify the Building Department, Code Enforcement Department, and Planning and Zoning Department of the adoption of this local. Do I have a motion as amended?
I'll make the motion as amended.
I'll second.
Okay. This we can just do an all in favor. So all in favor?
Can I,
Yeah.
can I
Oh,
tell Mary Lou something?
Yes.
On the exemptions, Mary Lou, are those, or to the board, are those proceed at your own risk, or are those like they proceed? I just don't remember us.
We did them as an exempt use, so they are exempted from the moratorium.
Right, it does not apply to those projects.
So those projects will be allowed to continue under
So
current
you-
review.
If they don't close out before the zoning passes and the new laws.
We
are
would
effective-
address that in the new law. When we
Right.
adopt the new law,
At our law, as it is now, it says that if you're already in process, you go under the old zoning law. So
Okay.
you got, that's how it is right now.
Okay, I just wanted
Of course, amending the entire thing, so if you keep it that way, then they'd go under that. If you might change it, then they're gonna go under their own risk, so.
the short answer is,
I understand.
when we adopt the new law, we can determine if applications in process can continue under the current or have to switch to the new.
Okay,
That's a decision we can make. when we
Right.
adopt.
Which does mean at this point, they're kind of in that, no man's land, because they don't know what you're gonna decide until you decide.
okay,
So at this point, I guess it is at their own risk.
got it.
But they're allowed to start the process
Yeah.
if they choose.
Okay.
Without getting a waiver. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next, renaming and adoption of local law X of 2023 ethics amendment. Whereas the town of Rochester Town Board conducted a public hearing regarding amendments to chapter 17 ethics of town code, whereas a public hearing was convened on April 23rd, 2023. Several residents expressed their concerns of proposed amendments. Whereas on May 11th, 2023, town board discussed the amendments and number one, remove the proposed change from consideration regarding indirect supervision. And I'm missing a page. It's okay, I have my backup agenda. Indirect supervision of employees from consideration, and number two, leaving the proposed change, increasing allowance of gifts to be increased from $25 to $75, as has been recommended by the attorney for the town for many years, and matching New York State ethics law. Whereas such amendments to the proposed law were delivered by email to town board members and the town clerk on May 21st, 2023. Whereas with this resolution, the town of Rochester Town Board identifies such action as a type 2 action under 6 NYCRR Part 617, State Environmental Quality Review, also known as seeker, and renames such local law as Local Law 7, 2023. Therefore, the town of Rochester adopts Local Law 7 of 2023, amending Chapter 17 ethics, and further requests the town clerk file such local law with the Department of State. I have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Have a second? We should do a roll call vote for this because we're doing the seeker classification with this same resolution. So,
Councilman Coleman is absent. Councilman Anowen,
I'm gonna vote no.
Councilman Paddock,
Aye.
Councilman Sneeson. Aye. And Supervisor Baden.
great, thank you very much. Next, we are doing an amendment to Resolution 101 of 2023, establishing the Agricultural Advisory Committee. Town of Rochester Town Board amends Resolution 101 of 2023 as follows. It will say the committee shall consist of the following membership composition. The committee shall be composed of, it used to say 7, we're changing it to 8. Members appointed by the town board as follows. Members shall be, I'm not going to read the next two parts. And then the other change is section B. The members appointed to the committee shall serve for a 3-year term. Upon initial formation, 2 members shall serve for a 1-year term. We're changing from 2 to 3 members for a 2-year term and 3 members for a 3-year term. Each year thereafter, reappointments or new appointments shall be for 3-year terms. So that's the motion, changing it from 7 to 8 and adding 1 more 2-year term.
I'll make that motion. Second.
For discussion, I know people say you shouldn't have an even number of committee members. This is an advisory board, not a voting board. Quite frankly, we received 15 applications. And we were really torn to get down to 7.
Too many
And
people.
so we decided to take half, half plus the next rounding it up. So we decided to take 8. And it was after a lot of discussion and trying to figure out where to make the cuts. And we just decided, let's put 8 people on the board if we have that many people interested. So that's the reasoning behind this. It's a happy accident to have.
Yeah.
So I'll ask for that motion. I mean, we had the motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay, next, we're going to do the appointment. I apologize, I have to pull up my screen here because I have the notes here. So, the Town of Rochester Town Board appoints the following persons to the Agricultural Advisory Committee. The 1-year terms will be Samantha Ritter and Colleen, is it Krupa? Thank you. The 2-year members will be Harley Davis, Sarah Hornbeck, and Carrie Cousins. And the 3-year members will be John Kelder, Renee Ciardi, and Matthew Dell. So,
I'll make that motion.
okay. I'm going to call for a roll call vote only because I know Councilman Paddock was not present at one of the interviews, so I believe he wants to recuse, but so okay, we do a roll call.
Councilman Coleman is out. Councilman Anowen,
Aye.
Councilman Paddock,
Will abstain, but I was wildly blown away by the folks that we did interview and very disappointed I wasn't able to attend the other side, so. Yeah, but abstain.
Councilman Sneezer.
Aye.
Supervisor Baden.
Aye. Adam, I appreciate you offering that since you weren't there for the first half of the interviews. Okay, next moving into resolution ads. We received a request today from Speedway for an addition of 2 days next week for practice. They would Wednesday the 7th and Thursday the 8th is their request of ad. I did speak with Melissa, who is Mr. Palmer's daughter. She believes it will be one or the other. They just want to cover their bases short of a rain event on Wednesday that they do it on Thursday. The reasoning behind this is Mr. Palmer, at great work and expense, put down a new racing surface this year in the off season. And because of all the rain that we got at the beginning of April, has been having issues with it. He has shut down the track. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the race day schedule, they did not race April 21st because the track was not ready. The 5th, they were rained out. The 12th, they were rained out. Oh, no, the 12th, they decided not to because of the track condition. The 26th, again, because of the track condition. And he is not running tomorrow night. So 5 of the 39 dates that he has already proposed have been no racing. So they're asking to add these 2 dates to their schedule. It fits in the 40-day schedule. So this is an amendment to the approved schedule.
Is this coming Thursday, Wednesday?
Yes, so it's the 7th and the 8th. So what we would be voting on if we choose to entertain this is an amendment to the proposed schedule, which still meets the racing permit that we awarded already. He's simply substituting these 2 dates for 2 other dates that he hasn't released. And he already had 1 additional because he only originally presented 39. So he's adding 1, but he's not been in operation for 5. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the request and allowing the amendment of the schedule to add the dates of June 7th or 8th, but not both.
They need it so they can determine whether they can bring some in time.
Understood.
You made the motion.
I'm making the motion.
Okay.
Any questions or discussion?
No, it's my. Sorry.
Do they normally go till 10 at night?
Yes,
The next
on a weeknight, they can, I have to check the time, it's in the code. On a Friday night, they're allowed to go to 11:30. On a Saturday night, they can go to 11. I believe it's 10:30 on a weeknight, a Sunday through Thursday.
Okay, that's
So,
that's all.
but
that's
being
just
that this is a
wondering.
practice, yeah, so being that what this is a practice, it's the ability for both the drivers to give feedback on the new track, for Mr. Palmer to test the track out instead of doing it on a Friday night and then having to cancel. It's a win-win for both the drivers and Mr. Palmer. And, you know, it probably will be no more than 20 cars, whereas on a normal Friday night, they'd have 90 cars there. So they said 6 to 10, but I highly doubt that they're going to run that late. Originally, Mail said 3 hours. So I did ask
They
her.
have until 10:30 on weekdays.
Right, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that actually.
Yeah, that's in the code, and they still have to follow the code, even though they're not charging admission for this. It's still a
Okay.
racing event, and the code applies.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I think I've heard it that the drivers want to get up there and make sure that the new surface that they can go full bore, that they can race on it, and that they're being safe as well.
The last 2 weeks
Right.
because of Justin, so yeah, they could.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay, I will let them know. Thank you very much. Next is, we received notice today from Bert Samuelson of the County Planning Department. That there were 3 parcels that were applied for to be included in the State Ag District. They have been recommended by the Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board, and so the legislature will be holding a hearing on June 13th at 7:20 p.m. at the county office building. New York State law does not require notice to bounding landowners. However, in the past, we have sent notice to bounding owners because this is going to involve spending funds for the postage. I just wanted to ask the board for a resolution authorizing me to notice. And I'd like to propose that we notice within 500 feet, just like we do for any planning and zoning. So I'll go ahead and make the motion to allow the supervisor to send notice of the public hearing to all property owners within 500 feet of the 3 properties.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, I'll get that out tomorrow. Next, we did discuss this once before, so we have received an application now for the Stars Above the Circus LLC to, under our public assembly permit, they are proposing 2 days of circus event to be held at the Ackworth Speedway. But this is being done directly by not by the Speedway itself, but by the circus. They will be contracting for that venue. The person, Josh, and I don't remember his last name, but anyway, from the circus has Avener, there it is, thank you, has sent me all this information. Discussed this with Mary Lou. It is 2 days of events, September 5th and September 6th, which is a Tuesday and a Wednesday from 7 to 8:30. You will remember the original on the Wednesday had an earlier time, and I pointed out to him that that was the first day of school. So he said, well, let's move it to later, because he originally had, I think, 4 to 5:30. And I said, that's going to be a problem because most kids won't even be home from school yet at 4 o'clock. So being that they are proposing a maximum attendance of 775 people, and it's 2 days of events, it does reach the level of the 1,500 that our public assembly permit follows. So this goes to the town board, planning board. Didn't know if you wanted to talk through it tonight. He did address, I sent him originally the code, and he responded back to the code item by item within his proposal. If you wanted to talk through it and see if we arrive at any other questions. He did say to me today that if we needed to speak with him, he'd be reachable by phone or by Zoom rather than staying in for the whole meeting. Or we could simply compile any questions we might have. But given that we're moving along pretty well tonight, does the board want to take the time to kind of go through this tonight? I kind of would like you to give him a yes or no answer if we can. If we can't, then that's fine. Yeah, let's.
Can I just give a little recommendation coming from a mom, being a mom?
Mhm.
Being that it's the night before the first day of school and then the first day of school,
Mhm.
I would not take my kid at 7 o'clock at night to 8:30 at night.
I understand.
Because by the time you get home, it's 9:30,
And we could recommend that he do it earlier on the
say
first day.
6 to maybe 7:30.
Okay. He said the time was flexible with Mr. Palmer, so we could make that recommendation that based on school that he do it earlier on the Tuesday. But, you know, in our approving the event, we're not necessarily approving the times, we're just making sure he meets the conditions, but that point is a really, he accepted my recommendation, and I'm sure he'll accept yours.
Yeah, I think you get
Absolutely.
more attendance.
Yep. Originally, he had looked at the 4th of July weekend for this, but the time frame was tight and they have bookings through the summer. This is, when we say circus, this is not an animal circus. There are no animals involved. This is more a high wire acrobatic type of circus. It's a small circus that used to perform in a Vegas showroom until COVID. And then when that happened, they became a traveling version of it. Mr. Palmer told me that they came to his attention because he had seen them somewhere else and was very impressed with their operation. And I will say the representative from the operation has been very thorough in his detail here. So, but Kate, I'll definitely pass that on. I think that's a really smart idea. So, Mary Lou, do you want to give us any input or guidance here first before we dive into it?
I mean, it looks like he has everything answered that we require in the law. I think what you really need to do is go through this paragraph by paragraph and determine whether those answers seem adequate to you.
Okay. So starting on page 2 is the application requirements. So letter A is just explaining who they are, where it's going to be. The agent is the Mr. Palmer, who's the local agent. And so do we agree that A is satisfied? Okay. Moving on to B, the statement containing the name and address of the record owner of the property and the nature and interest of the applicant. So that's Mr. Palmer and Accord Speedway. The applicant is hosting a small outdoor open air circus titled Stars Above, produced and managed by Josh Avener and Hideaway Circus. Then he goes on to say, it combines elements of contemporary and classical circus, an all-star cast of 10 circus performers celebrating the connection to loved ones, community, and what they've lost. It's performed outdoors under the vast canopy of sky and stars on a custom-built circular stage and aerial rig. There are no tents and no animals involved. So the proposed dates, and we are going to recommend change that date to 6 p.m. Each performance will have a maximum attendance of 775 people with a collective total maximum of 1,550. A minimum of 110 cars and a maximum of up to 220 cars per event to be parked on the property. And that would be similar to a racing night. I do know that the stage will be set up in the normal parking lot, but because there's not racing, they're going to use the pit area, which holds well over 100 race car haulers for parking. So if it can do over 100 race car haulers, it's easily going to do over 200 cars. Because many of the haulers are tractor trailers. Letter C. Oh, is everybody okay with me? Okay. He's showing the map. It's at 299 Whitfield Road, 20-acre parcel in the R5 zoning district. He notes the adjoining properties. They're not adding any additional buildings or structures for the event. So that would be item C. Any issues? Okay. Item D. So sanitary sewage, it will be done through a combination of built-in gray water and black water tanks in RVs and concession trailers, as well as portable toilets on site for the attendees, so they would not be using the Speedway's bathroom. A third-party provider will be responsible for servicing portable toilets and trailers. They'll arrive on site with a truck and pump out all sanitary sewage, ensuring proper disposal, maintaining a hygienic environment during the event. So that's item D. Item E, supply, storage, and distribution of water. Be facilitated through a combination of sources. The hookup adjacent to one of the properties on the building will provide water access. Freshwater tanks are available in the RVs and concession trailers for their respective needs. Additionally, bottled water available for purchase at concessions to ensure adequate water supply for attendees. I think that's adequate. Plan or drawing showing the layout of the parking area. It's shown in Exhibit A. Parking area has been designed to conform to the requirements of Chapter 140 zoning, and that's on the back. So you can see the normal pit area will be the parking area. So when people enter, they'll be instructed to go to the left, I believe, probably, and go around, or maybe they'll bring them straight through, and I'm not sure which way they'll bring them in, but they will
I have
park.
one-
Yep.
One comment on that. So they're gonna use the pit area. I think you might want to require that they have parking attendants
Parking attendants. Yep.
for both the beginning and the end. Too many things, you know, they park you at the beginning and then at the end, it's a free-for-all.
Yeah.
Okay, so item F will make that requirement. They have parking attendants both before and after the event. G, radio device, sound amplifier, loudspeaker, sound truck, or other similar sound equipment. They're going to be used small portable radios between the stage manager and front of house team. 3 loudspeakers placed underneath the stage with 3 additional speakers on tripods located behind the audience section, pointed toward the stage. It will not exceed 90 decibels. This is not going to even come near the level of, say, a rock concert or anything like that, or any type of concert for that matter.
For the raceway.
Or the raceway, yeah. So I think we probably are okay with what they're proposing. Food and beverage. They're going to sell popcorn, cotton candy, bottled drinks, prepared, sold, and distributed out of the concession trailer. All trash and garbage generated from the sale and consumption of these articles will be properly disposed of utilizing on-site trash bins. The contents will be emptied into the dumpster provided by the Ackworth Speedway. I think we need to add that they need to inquire if they need Board of Health approval, and if they do, that they receive it. I don't know for popcorn if they, and cotton candy, if they do need, but if the Board of Health does control that, we should just, they should secure Board of Health approval for that.
And maybe add funnel cake. We're requiring water.
Item I, if they're gonna have private security guards or police, and if so, the names and addresses. So they do not intend to hire private security guards or police, as the anticipated attendance levels do not warrant their engagement. They would utilize them if required by the town. Would this be something that we wanted to just identify, having a constable on duty that night?
What was the draw for the monster show? Any idea what the attendance on that was?
The first year was big, the second year was much,
Right. Any idea the attendance number?
I think it was smaller than this. Or actually, I don't know. The first year, I think, was bigger than this.
Yeah.
The second year, I don't know. Did you go the second year?
No.
You went the first year.
Yeah, I think just for the.
We would just maybe put a constable on duty, and we can't
Yeah.
charge for that, but we would do it for just to help move traffic
Yeah, I think
on the public road.
I think for the whole duration.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, they would just monitor the public roadways to keep traffic flowing.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to fire protection and location of fire lanes and water supply for fire control. Oh, he did address that. So they show the location of fire lanes on the map, which is the main exit road. Given that it's open air, evacuate by standing up and walking. I think let's just ask him if there are any pyrotechnics involved.
He says there's not.
Does not utilize any fire.
Does not.
There we go. Never mind. Never mind. I didn't read it far enough. So
Do
we
you
don't.
want them to have like some sort of emergency, not saying like ambulance or anything there, but a designated person to be in charge in case of emergency? Because I think to say it's a field, people can walk away. I think you want somebody
I think
in
Eric
charge.
was just about to say that it's a number.
It's number L, and I do think we should require it.
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
get to that in a moment
Is
here.
that what you're talking about?
There. So we're now up through K. Outdoor lighting. It's going to be theatrical lighting used by the system, which is directed at the stage. I can tell you from experience, I know exactly what they're doing. 20 LED moving head fixtures that will be pre-programmed. They will be on the stage and no lights are going to shine behind the property line or create any visual nuisances. So this is all going to be a very programmed lighting package that they will put up. And I did confirm with him there, because it's going to be at dark when they're done, they're not taking stage down till the next morning. So they won't be working into the evening. They'll be taking it down at 8 o'clock the next morning. So I can tell you, and matter of fact, in looking at his designers, I happen to know the lighting designer. So. Letter L is the emergency treatment. He said they've taken precautions to ensure the safety and well-being of the attendees and have staff members who are trained in CPR or other life-saving techniques. Is the board okay with that?
I think we should have an on-site. There should be someone, not just trained in CPR.
So we should have an on-site safety manager. Is that term okay?
Mary Lou?
We have an on-site designated safety manager or something?
There's good ways of making rescue squad. If you need emergency technicians, it's gonna take them time to get there.
Yeah.
You might want it right there.
Guys, I'm sorry, I apologize. I appreciate the comments very much, but do we want an on-site ambulance or not?
I mean, I think we should have an on-site ambulance. I think any gathering of over 500 people where something could technically go wrong. We obviously do this professionally and most likely that won't happen, but
I mean, on a race night, the ambulance is required, but that's because of the activity that's happening and that with cars going at high speed.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad, if we're not gonna have a onsite, you know, there isn't anybody, we have like, there'd be like one constable.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's a bad idea to have a EMT present.
Yeah.
I don't know what a safety manager
Well,
would need.
it would be somebody from there. They would have an emergency management plan and somebody would be, they would have a plan that we would approve and then.
I think you'd want to say that they have to provide a plan for approval.
Right.
And then if you find that it's inadequate, you can say, okay, what are you gonna do if there's a fire? You can't just say scatter.
Yeah. Why don't we do
Okay.
that first before saying they have to have an ambulance? Because I'm just thinking like, if Kelders has an event, they might draw 700 people too, and we don't make them have an ambulance. You know, so.
But having an
Well, we-
emergency plan is a good
Well,
idea. And
yeah.
They designate or
So,
recommend.
so as a condition, any, well, we ask him to supply an emergency plan. It's June, sorry. It's June. He's got 3 months. He can get it to us so we can look at it and say, yeah, this is okay, or no, we want an ambulance there.
Yeah, put a date certain in when you need that by for review.
How about by the July 6th meeting?
Sure. Fine.
Because to hire an ambulance, it's gonna cost them about $600 or $700. And that's sizable. Letter M. The housing facilities, they travel with RVs. They will be staying in those RVs. And the locations is shown on the exhibit A. Got it. Off to the side of the
Yeah.
field there. And I think we should just put that, from those RVs, there should be no dumping of septic, of sewage.
They have that in their wastewater plan,
Okay,
that if someone's will be hired to.
okay, perfect. We'll leave that alone. You know what? I'm still gonna put it in the no dumping, just to reiterate.
Fair enough.
Letter N. No soot, cinders, smoke, noxious acid, fumes, gases, or unusual odors shall be permitted to unreasonably emanate. I don't know of any that would occur, so I don't believe there would be any.
Are they saying it's a no smoking event? Is that what they're saying? I can't tell.
And saying that, you know, is there gonna be anything that smells, anything that's
Right.
aerosol? And they just basically copied the language and said no.
Yeah, they took the language right from our law.
Should we say that we require that it be a no smoking event? That or
I
that
would if they're in a field.
signs posted for no smoking? Especially given that it's gonna be a lot of kids in the campus. We don't allow it on any of our properties. So. So O is music, but if that goes along with the sound of the other one. So I think they've already answered O. P is more the same, I guess. One is music, O is music, and P is noise in general. But I think the only noise they're gonna have is their playback of music during the event.
Incredible cheering.
Yeah. And Q is addressed. No laws will be violated. And that they adhere to New York State Department of Labor Board standards. I will, being that they're traveling trapeze, can I just add that we just want to know from them if they are required to comply with any OSHA. I know traveling carnivals are visited by OSHA to check the setup of carnivals and things. So I just want to check that they see if they're required by OSHA or any other agency. Being that they're a temporary setup. And if they are, that they secure that. So in our approval, we already talked about the health department. We're gonna follow up with the health department to see if it's required for the food. Sewage disposal is addressed. The water is addressed. The traffic, we're gonna have the constable. We would probably notify the sheriffs and state police of the event so they are aware of it. Or we would ask them to notify.
Have them do it and send and copy us.
The removal of trash is going to be handled through the dumpsters. We would also notify the fire district, obviously, or ask them to notify the fire district of the event. And otherwise, and then the inspection required, that sort of goes along with the inspection. That's not an inspection that our code enforcement would be able to do or would do. It would be one that somebody who inspects those type of apparatus would do if.
And there's a typo on their first paragraph. It says, in the first sentence, Accor Speedway and the term of Accor.
Yeah,
Something down Akron.
for a lot of people it is.
The booming.
The cord.
You know, alphabetically, the number one town in New York State. Akron.
Really?
Yeah. So nothing comes.
There's
before
nothing before it?
There's
Really?
nothing comes before Akron.
Wow.
Oh, you need to start playing.
Little bit of trivia there.
Fun fact.
Yeah. Tell that to Mark Grasso for his planning.
I come from the number one town in of Hamlet, apparently.
Yeah. Okay,
And then,
go
what do
ahead.
you say, there's the insurance for fire?
Yes, they would have to supply us liability insurance policy.
Love to read that.
And I will find out from our agent the amount.
And then we can set a fee, or we have one?
We do not have a fee set for this, and I'll be honest, we're granting this permit. We could set a fee tonight, if we believe one is necessary. I don't know what services we're really gonna offer
Yeah.
that he would cover.
It's really just to cover whatever you guys put into reviewing this. But don't forget that we have section 56.5, which is approval required from applicable agencies. What other towns do is they say, before we grant the permit, we need you to get all these, and we don't have those here.
Right. Well, that's what I was just going over of the ones that they would have to get. So what I would
Right, but-
propose is that we give a preliminary approval pending these agreements, you know, the conditions we put in. I mean, they don't have to get approval from septic because they're using portable toilets and the vendor has the approval. The vendor of the porta potties is responsible for the porta potties.
Right?
And
But
they don't, and water, they've already addressed, so they don't have to go to the town code enforcement or the health. See, not every one of them requires an approving agency.
right,
Okay. I thought you were saying that they have to go get all these approvals anyway.
all the ones that are applicable,
Right.
like
Yeah,
health
the ones,
department, maybe.
Yeah, the health
Right.
department.
what we identified them section by section, and what I would do, Mary Lou, is make those a condition of any final approval and send that to them you know, I'm gonna put together an agreement to send to them tomorrow, or not an agreement, but basically giving them a preliminary approval subject to these conditions. And the ones we identified in each section.
Yeah, also, when you say the inspection, that's their inspectors, it would, if like you said, OSHA or anybody has to inspect, that's them. But our code enforcement officer would also go on and inspect to make sure everything is safe
Okay.
and to New York State code.
Okay. So if we are doing that, do we want to charge a $50 fee for,
You guys can set a fee, yeah.
$25 fee for? He's 30 something an hour. I don't think it's gonna take him more than an hour. $50 fee, that would pay the cost of his time, the fuel, the office
We do
staff.
75 to make sure that it's fully covered in case it's, that he has to.
Case
do
he
that.
has to go back.
Okay,
And we're not allowed to lump the constable.
we can't charge for the constable.
No.
He's doing public roads, that's for the town.
About their gas.
That's sort of tied into, that's why I'm
Yeah,
saying,
no, that's the job of our agent. So, before you do any approvals, why don't you do a resolution setting forth? the
that's what okay. Yep. So, I'll make a resolution then that we, set a fee for the Circus Above Stars LLC proposal for the permit at $75.
No, set a fee for public assemblies of $75.
Oh,
That's what
okay,
it says. It's not for the, per applicant. You guys have to set one from time to time.
okay, okay. I thought we could set it by application if we didn't have one.
No,
Okay, so I'll start over. I'll make a resolution that we set the fee for chapter 56, public assemblies at $75.
I'll make that motion.
I did make,
Oh, I'll second that motion. I'm sorry.
okay.
You're going back and forth tonight.
I'm trying to keep it moving, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Next, I would make a motion that we give, is it tentative or preliminary? Should we call it preliminary approval?
I'd call it conditional approval.
Okay. We give conditional approval, to Stars Above Circus LLC for the public assembly permit as requested with the following conditions. Regarding letter F, that parking attendees be designated to work, or not work, to control traffic, control parking, not traffic, parking, both before and after the event. Letter H, that they secure Board of Health approval if necessary, or supply reply from the Board of Health that it's not necessary. The constables is our own. Regarding section L, that they supply an emergency plan by July 6th for approval by the town board. Regarding letter M, that there be no dumping of sewage on site, on the ground. Let me clarify that. Regarding letter N, that there be signs posted for no smoking. Regarding letter Q, that they secure any federal, state, or local safety regulations from any other agency, and that the town code enforcement officer review the property on the setup date,
And they pay their application.
and that the $75 fee be paid. So those are the conditions. I'll make the motion.
I'll
so we
second
don't have to
it.
say all over. Okay. And I'm not gonna ask because I know Kate got it already, 'cause she's good. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. I will let him know. I'll put this together, send it to him. Go have a circus.
Maybe.
Next, we received a okay. So we received something from the cell tower company a while ago, and I had further conversation with them. And so here's the situation. T-Mobile, according to American Tower, has bought out several other companies, and they are more or less stating that they are going to take their antennas off of, this is for the Route 209 site only. We don't know about the Airport Road site at the moment. We're only talking about the 209 site. They are proposing that they would pull their antennas off unless they get a rent reduction.
And put them where?
Well, we don't know.
All their.
Maybe nowhere. Well, so here, I just have, I've
Well,
got,
don't they have to pay us?
no, no, we get 40% of the revenue that they collect. Anybody can go on or off the tower at any time. So they don't have to pay us anything, because we get currently 40%. In July 1st, it goes up to 45%.
They'd still be leasing, they'd still be paying their lease fee, but
No.
they take.
Who's they? Let me clarify. American Tower would pay us 40% of what they collect in rental every year. Currently, they pay us 40% of whatever they take in. If T-Mobile leaves the tower, they will take in less money. They will get less money. So what they are offering is two options for a rent. One is a rent reduction, that we negotiate a rent reduction from the 45% that we're going to go up to, for a one-time signing bonus of $10,000. And then $1,000 per month we would get, instead of what we're currently getting, we'll get a flat rate of $1,000 in perpetuity instead of what we're getting. Now, I did have Seth pull. You can't really tell, because I suspect that some of their carriers probably pay quarterly and some pay monthly, because every quarter we seem to get a fairly large payment. And the problem is too, their payments are for two towers, and sometimes they're separated and sometimes they're not. We could go back and pull every backup document that's given to us when we receive these checks and know exactly how much we got each month. But that would take some work. So I'm just sort of showing you this. And what I did is we pulled so far this year what we've received. Bear in mind, one of those, there's two postings for every month. One of those is 209 and one of those is, and I believe the higher one is always the 209 site, and the lower one, because that tends to be the pattern. And then this is what we received in rental for the year. Bear in mind, some of that funding, like that 60,000 last year, was the lease extension, which we negotiated in March of last year. So we extended the lease with them for a period of time for a flat rate of $30,000 per town. We extended the two leases.
Do you know how long we extended those for? How many years?
50
I think
years.
it was like I think it was for another, well, no, because it wasn't about to run out. I think it was like another 35 years, because I think we had enough.
It extended, so the total would be 50.
Total is
Beginning.
50 more years for the lease.
I know, just no to them, like
Well,
that someone's going to put, if T-Mobile pulls out of that, someone is gonna take advantage of that tower, and we're still gonna get 40% revenue.
are we sure of that though? Because there's not that many carriers out there. They're merging and they're cutting back, and really the big three are Sprint, T-Mobile, and Verizon. And he already said in the email that
Where are they gonna?
Sprint is consolidating, and bear in mind, these contracts were signed in 2003 when
Well, we just renewed last year.
Right, but we renewed just to extend the contract as is.
Well, that's on them then, if they don't like the clauses and the amount that we're getting from their contract, but I think it's silly to like,
Well-
the figures they're giving us on what they wanna renegotiate to is,
Remember though, that
Ridiculous.
American Tower is only gonna give us, I mean, they're gonna continue, if we stay as is, they're gonna continue to give us 40% of their rental. If somebody pulls off and there's nobody there to replace them, then we go to zero for that rental. We get the other ones, but we don't get anything from T-Mobile anymore. The they is actually T-Mobile. T-Mobile is fighting American Tower and wants a reduction, and American Tower is trying to push it back to us. If we don't renegotiate, American Tower, T-Mobile may just say, okay, we're pulling off the tower. And then we have residents who don't have any signal.
yeah, and then they'll complain and they'll come back and go back to our tower.
Don't assume that.
You should assume that this, I think we should call their bluff, I think.
Well, I'm not sure it's a bluff.
Well, I think
I'm,
We rely on this money really heavily.
can we talk about these numbers, Mary Lou?
Mhm.
We can, okay. So I'm just, the rent reduction, I think I'm just a little confused. Because it sounds like they're just gonna pay a flat, they just wanna pay a flat.
That is correct.
So that'd be,
So the rent reduction option, if we agree to it, Aaron, they're gonna give us $10,000 as a one-time thing. And they're gonna pay us $1,000 a month moving forward. So we're gonna get $22,000 in the first year and then $12,000 a year thereafter.
And what are we getting now?
For that tower,
I know it's hard to tell, but.
Yeah.
we're getting-
it's approximately 17,000.
So a reduction of about 5,000
but we're only getting the 10,000.
once.
once.
So it'll be 22 grand the first year. We'll actually make
We'll make money the first year. We'll lose money every year thereafter.
over the course of the.
And
third
bear in
year.
mind, we're July 1st is the next trigger, which is 20 years of that lease. This lease was signed in '03.
Yeah.
So in 2023, at the 20-year benchmark, we jumped from 40 to 45%. I'm sure that had a hand in T-Mobile looking at this going, oh, no. I also know that cell tower companies back 20 years ago, these numbers weren't big to them, but now they're all going leaner and they're all, because they know the market's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, because all what you were saying, the smaller cell companies don't exist anymore.
How many different carriers have been on those towers in the last 20 years? I mean, I can remember.
These.
There were, but by different names. They
Well,
were
there were
buying-
others on, but they were acquired by these other companies,
That's what I'm
so
saying.
they went away, but they didn't go on and off. They were just acquired by these companies and absorbed.
Well, here's the other thing too, T-Mobile does not do 5G as of right now. Verizon is the only cell phone company that does that, where they will put on random businesses in areas. Like I worked at a rent store in Kingston that they put one of the first ones in Ulster County, a 5G tower. And we got paid to have it on our building. They put these small micro towers on them. Verizon's the only one doing that. All of these other companies have to have a large tower like this to provide service.
So if you look at this page, this shows you our last month. So that's for the two towers. So the two new Singular Wireless and Cellco partnership, which I believe is Verizon, are on the Airport Road Tower. And then 3 of them, T-Mobile, New Singular, and Cellco are on. So T-Mobile is not on the Airport Road Tower.
So we're only talking about the 209 tower, right?
Correct, at the moment.
So a couple of things. I mean, obviously, we're talking about a reduction. They want to do this now, even though we're budgeted for this revenue for 2023. Oh, actually, it's an increase in 2023 revenue. So
Yeah,
that doesn't. You know, the big thing, as I think about our 7,500 residents, is that how many of them are into, you know, T-Mobile contracts that they can't get out of, that the day they turn this off, they're going to be affected and not have the ability to change. The fact that we're also lacking broadband. We're also taking a look at all these alternative cell phone options that they keep talking about.
Adam, I just realized those. I said 17,000. That was not a yearly. That was a monthly.
See,
That was for both towers for that 1 month.
okay.
So probably about the total for that tower for the month was probably about, well, probably do the math this way.
Yeah.
Probably about 10 to 12,000, but T-Mobile was 1886. Now, but bear in mind, if we sign this new lease agreement, we're not going to just lose the T-Mobile revenue. We're only going to get $1,000 a year for the rest.
Right.
I mean, a month for the rest, and not get 40% of the other carriers.
My initial gut reaction is that one of the big reasons why the town of Rochester has the lowest tax rate in Ulster County is because of the revenue that we generate from several sources. One of the big ones being our cell tower. This is such a big one. I'd almost wonder if we need a mediator or an arbitrator. I don't know what the difference between the two is, but I don't think that, and again, if somebody disagrees, it's perfectly fine, but this town board should go into negotiations on something that's trying to drop us to 10% of a current contract, where there's a number in between. It doesn't look like it's going to be the full thing going forward.
You want me to look into to see if there is essentially a cell tower consultant, either a private individual or a company who specializes in this to negotiate?
I mean, if we're talking about going from, 17,000 a month to 1,000 a month, I mean, over the course of the next 20 years, we're talking about millions of dollars
Right,
in
and
revenue.
The issue I was gonna bring up is that like, this is just like a piece of paper from their
This sales guy.
consultants.
Well, no, there
And
was
I don't wanna make any decisions based off of this.
so.
Because,
So I did email all of you, and I sent the email back a month ago, the 40 or 50 pages
Yeah.
of contract.
Right, we talked about it.
Print all
at
that out.
the May meeting.
talked about it.
No, but I just want to make sure it's not just this piece of paper,
No, I know.
Right,
Thanks.
but
the contract.
that piece of paper gave us some clarification, but yeah, I'm just not comfortable. I think that you invite these people, someone other than the salesman, somebody with knowledge, to come to a meeting, and it can be virtual, because this guy's in Texas. Or at least meet with two of you, with Mike and one of the board members, to really kind of get to the bottom of it. I don't think we have a good sense of what's going on. Mike, I like your recommendation of finding a cell tower expert. It's all a guess for us. We don't know this.
So
I
he
certainly wouldn't roll over to them, that's for sure.
he says here, and I did ask him this in our conversation. He says he believes T-Mobile accounts for 33,000, so about 34,000 annually on the site. So we would go from 34 to 12. So we
Also
would,
the third.
yeah, and it's going to go up to 35.6.
Or it's just 35 of that site, but is that site only T-Mobile, or does that have?
That site has 3 of them.
Right, so we would.
Oh,
We would
okay. I
go,
understand.
not just that, it would be because it's $154,000 for 2022, when you subtract out that 60.
Now, we would need to clarify if this is just for T-Mobile or not, though, because he doesn't say that anywhere in this, but yet he quoted me what T-Mobile is
Yeah.
providing.
So what Mary Lou said, we should have instead of an email, let's talk to this guy.
Okay.
What are you talking about? Because this is crazy, Don. And then second, if he comes back and just says, hey, this is the state of the cell phone industry, now, let me ask you a question too, Mike. Isn't there, and I messed it up, FCC regulation that says that a certain amount of the town was that 2017 law, a certain amount of town had to have cell service, byways and stuff like that? No? I remember that.
No,
Or something.
the middle class tax act of 2017,
Yeah.
which is where it was wedged into, made it easier for the cell carriers to get approvals to put new antennas on. didn't cover anything about coverage.
Gotcha. Okay.
They still can decide when and where they want to do coverage.
Well, let's get a one-on-one or two-on-one with this guy from Texas.
Okay.
Bring back that information to the board. If he's saying the state of cell phone industry is where we're at, this is the best we can do, let's get a consultant to negotiate this thing up to
Yep.
industry standard. Maybe we are super out of whack, and
Well, I'm sure with a 20-year contract, I'm sure the numbers were higher than the going rate it is currently. And I'm certain of that because I'm certain that's part of why they wanted to lock in that contract for another 35-year extension last year, because that capped it at 45%, but it was never going to go below that.
Right.
So,
But Charlotte, I also agree with you that it feels terrible to have Big Cell come to small town and dictate what they're gonna do to us on our property.
it does.
We have a contract.
Because they signed a contract with us, knowing the parameters of it less than a year ago. And now that they've realized their mistake, like they needed us. That's why they re-signed that contract with us. And they needed that tower. So now, less than a year later, they just realized they messed up on their numbers and that's what's going on, right?
The only reason I'm defending them is I don't think that this is instigated by American Tower. I think,
You know, and I'm sure it's.
but let me finish, please. I think
You can
T-Mobile,
let me finish.
okay, go ahead.
I don't understand why, like, I understand where you're coming from, where you think it's from T-Mobile. But that's not on us, that's not on the taxpayers who rely on this in our budget, that's on American Tower. For renewing our
Understood.
contract where it was, and that's their mistake, and we should have a negotiator coming, because the clauses in the new one, that they're the rent reduction or the perpetual easement are absolutely BS compared to what we are getting right now. For
Understood.
what's going on.
But if we hold a hard line in the sand and T-Mobile just says, fine, we're pulling off, we have to consider that as well, because we have residents who use T-Mobile. And if T-Mobile pulls off that tower, they have no coverage, then how are we serving the residents? You know what I mean?
I
We
think
can pull a hard line.
all of this is true. It's also a possibility that this company makes money off of taking advantage of small towns by making huge rent reductions for their big multinational companies. And so like, that's why it's important that we interrogate a little bit what they're offering, because it could be something that is meant to get us to just sign it without.
Agreed. And believe me, I was not proposing that we adopt anything tonight. I just, I'm obligated to bring this to you. It's a contract. It was brought to me since last month, and I went back and I asked him more questions. And that the email that we got on, well, that's the email on April, the first one. But the other email is from May 22nd, where he and I had a voice conversation, and I said, look, can you tell me dollars to dollars what this means? And that's where he came back with, this is what it means in dollars. He hasn't, other than saying this is being instigated by T-Mobile, he hasn't said anything more about that. So,
And
and I don't know if he's going to say it.
when Mike and I talked about this today, and he said, can you look through this? I can't look through all of this by tonight. But Mike can tell you, I immediately came up with about 10 concerns. And one of them is, okay, so if T-Mobile says, hey, you have to reduce our price for us to stay, and we say, we'll take a flat fee of $1,000 a month, how much are they going to reduce that price to?
Right.
Right? I mean, or what if somebody else comes in? There's too many questions out there right now. I'm gonna
Right.
look at the old contracts, the amendments to contracts that we have, and these proposals, and I think it's key to look this guy in the eye.
And I know it's legwork that your office probably doesn't have additional time for, but it probably makes a lot of sense.
No,
to
no, I
get our-
absolutely,
To get all of our
I'll make the
numbers
time.
together. and-
Yeah, no, I'll make the
parts,
time.
so that-
I'll make the time, and I will go out and search for a negotiator or consultant who is, like you said, we don't know the cell tower business, the same. And that reminds me, I have an update on the security consultant that I forgot to put in the supervisory report, so. Okay, I will follow back up with him. I will try to find this negotiator, but I just think there's two sides that we have to consider. We have to consider the residents and we got to consider the financial. You know, we do rely on that. Between that and the 115 to 120,000 we get for the solar, we pull in almost $300,000 that would be tax money otherwise. So this is huge. And I will tell you, other supervisors drool when they hear about these contracts. So, okay. Request by a landowner for no parking area. So as many of you have probably seen or heard from and seen in the Stowe Press and Freeman, the Sangam Journal, there's a new owner for Depot. He has gone to the planning board and separated the two parcels. That has not been filed yet with the county, but ultimately he's splitting the two parcels, I believe, for a liability issue to protect himself. He wants to allow people to continue to swim there. That's on him if he wants to. We have no control over that. What we do have control over is parking along the roadways. He worked out with Jeff Fry. They put some boulders along the edge to try to get people to stop, to not park there. They built across the street a small parking area with the code enforcement officers, that it did not need a permit. They have built that area. I am told I have not pulled up there because it was blocked for a while until Memorial Day with a log. I am told that it's a little small. He came back to me yesterday. He would like us to now continue no parking all the way along that section, with the exception of 2 spaces that we would designate for ADA parking and post them appropriately for ADA parking. And then that the remainder, because the section that we left for parking, you can physically get off the road until he put the boulders up. He's trying to avoid people parking and blocking the road, which is why he created the parking area. We subsequently got an email from the fire district. They have an area there where they have access to pull water from in an emergency. It is posted no parking. People park there anyway. They do call the constable. The constable goes and addresses it. But short of a chain or a wire or something, unless we put somebody there all day, every day, we're never going to totally stop people from parking there, because the email said, can we ask the sheriff and the state police to patrol it? They have already indicated in past that they are not going to enforce it. They don't have enough manpower. So I'm going to go back to the fire district and ask if we can put a chain that they can, with a quick release or something, that they can get in there quickly if they need be, or somehow, I don't know.
I mean, would they consider, because it's not the no parking, really, it's more the access.
Well,
to water.
people are parking, blocking the access.
Yeah.
So they're concerned that in an emergency, if they need to go there to draw water, they have an easement over that property to draw water, just like they do on scenic roads.
No, I'm saying, would other agencies be willing to patrol if they knew it was about?
I kind of doubt it, because it is a no parking, the law is a no parking law.
Is there any advantage to change it from no parking to a fire zone, but maybe where we can put, fines that are significantly higher than our no parking law?
Mary Louise, do you know that answer?
I don't know what the fines are for that, but I suspect that Adam's probably right. I can look that up.
Okay. The
Just
issue-
like handicap parking
the issue
is
still
a
remains,
higher fine.
you gotta have enforcement level.
Yeah. But if we change the signs, then it's $1,000 fine,
Worth a shot.
yeah, how bad do you want to go swimming?
Yeah. So, I gave you a copy of the law.
Yeah.
So there are 2 different issues.
Yeah.
They just both initiated, one yesterday and one today. So if we wanted to pursue making that whole, I don't even know if the two of you were on the board back then. I know he was on the board. We had a public hearing back in the old town hall where we was very well attended, and we made a concession. So the far side of the road is no parking from the tall pine trees all the way to the bridge over the Peterskill. On this side of the road, it's no parking. Once you get off his property, there's a tree and the signs start there, go all the way to the pine trees, go all the way the other way. So it's just this area with the exception of the fire district area that allows parking. What he's asking is that we make the entire section no parking. But given that he would like it to be accessible for people with handicaps, that we make 2 spaces that we post as handicapped parking spots, and they can be
Isn't that-
enforced as,
I mean, I don't think we should be creating parking spots for his property.
well, it's on the public road right away, so we can create them because the parking is within the town's shoulder. So we could, just like if we made parking areas along a town road, we could designate parking spots for handicap. We could do the same here. It's not necessarily, it's creating it at his request, but it wouldn't be any different than creating it at a business's request. If a new business opened and then we allowed parking on the street or didn't allow it, but put handicap parking spaces there.
I don't think that's wise. I think we should just make it no parking the whole way, because people are just gonna take those spots. People already ignore an emergency parking spot for fire trucks. I think that they'll probably have about the same effect that they do for that handicap parking spot, so it should just be no parking the whole stretch.
Again, I like the fact that people use this space, but I think when we put in spaces for people to be there, we take on a responsibility and liability to the people that are in there. We're literally creating a spot for people to use that. So
Right.
again, I think it puts us in some tough liability.
Well, this is what we did, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree. Originally, I had proposed that both sides, the whole thing be no parking, and this was the give back. What's that?
I said he can always just make a bigger parking lot.
Not supposed to use that.
Well,
If he wants to let people use it.
but the reason he wanted the ADA spots here is because to get from the bigger parking lot to the water is more difficult. So I'm just explaining the reason. I'm not saying I agree, I disagree. I'm presenting the ask.
I understand and I appreciate his concern for people
Yeah.
for ADA, for wanting ADA spots, and I really respect that and appreciate that from him, but I don't
Okay,
think that that's a can of worms that we should get into. I grew up going to Deep Hole. I understand the love of it and the draw of it, and people wanting to go there, but it is so unsafe as someone who lived off of Towpath and lived off of Farm on the other side and took Towpath back to my father's house off of it. I constantly drive down there still, even after the parking signs, and it is an absolute mess there. And it needs to stop.
so, okay, so then what I'm hearing, so just let me go through the 3 options, and if you'd like me to, I'll go back to him. So one option is we leave it as is and do nothing. That's one option. Option 2 is we make it all no parking. And we separately will work with the fire district and try to come up with a solution to keep people out of there. Or the third option is that we put together a local law to do what he wants. So what I'm hearing is we make it all no parking. I'm gonna go back to him before we propose anything. We would have to go through a local law process anyway to make this area no parking. So let me go back to him now, say I talked to the board, they want to make the whole thing no parking, and then I'll come back and report to you guys on the 8th. And if we decide we want to move forward with that, then we do.
And I like Adam's idea for setting it as an actual fire zone, making a higher fine for that.
Yeah, let's explore what the law says for that, if we can, and we can do that. And then we can also talk to the fire district about some physical impediment to stop people from getting in there, because short of somebody there, even an extra patrol by a sheriff or state police isn't gonna stop somebody from parking there.
No, absolutely, but seeing it, like Adam said, seeing $1,000 fine on a sign might make you think twice about it.
Or
So,
I won't even, there are many days I drove by there and I would see a car parked in there and I'd get out and I'd go down to the edge and say, look, whoever's car is parked here, I'm about to call and get you guys towed. And we get, oh, where can I park? You mean I can't park there? And I see that sign, you know, they don't care.
You should just get a surveillance sign, you know, actually put a camera there.
I actually learned that that's allowed. So before we move on, you remember we heard back from 4 consultants
Yes.
on the safety security study. We ruled one out. I contacted the other 3. In the last 2 weeks, I have met with each one of those companies, either one-on-one or one-on-two, and drove around the town, showed them all the facilities. They all spoke with Kate. They all spoke with Ashley. They all spoke with Alyssa. 2 of the 3 spoke with the courts. The one was on a Friday and the court was not open, but we did tour the facility. Sorry, excuse me. So anyway, where we are now is they are going to take their observations, go back and present a more detailed proposal. I asked them to have it by mid-June back to us. So by our July meeting, and certainly you guys have time to digest it. They all seemed very interested in working with us. They all understood that we were a smaller community. And so that's where that all stands. I didn't want you to think that it was just fell by the wayside. It took a while to get contact with everybody, get them scheduled. But so we're moving forward with getting proposals from those 3 companies on the next steps. And so go ahead.
No parking sign.
Yeah, no parking signs. The quote that we got, and I did say this to the board the other night, Michael was there, you were not. All these are for the law that we passed in 2022 for Cherrytown Road from Sampsonville to Blossom Lane, which is well over a mile. To put them up the proper distance apart, that's what it will take. I will tell you that I've already heard communication from the rabbi. The buses will come toward the end of June. He's given me exact dates. I've relayed them to the constable and we will have coverage those days. He is being very specific. He sent a letter to all the bus companies saying, do not stop on the road, do not park on the road. He sent me a copy of the letter as well. He's trying to communicate well, but I would like to get these signs up before then, if possible. I know it's a lot of money, but I think we passed the law to make it a no parking area. We got to give the highway superintendent the ability to make it no parking.
Can I ask you a question, Mike, just
Yes.
about something you mentioned the other day? Because these are, how far apart are they again?
I don't know,
They're
but
like-
it's whatever the state says no parking sign should be a part. And I'll be honest, I don't want to try to second guess what. the
That's fine.
DOT
No, I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't want to, it's not the signs. The other day you said that there were cars parked like off the road, but they were not, but it was fine because it was off the road. Is
Yep.
this gonna interfere with that?
No,
Okay,
no.
they can still do
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we're not gonna put a sign in the middle of somebody's driveway, you know,
Yes.
if it's, I'm just using an example, say it is 50 feet between signs. I don't know if it is or isn't. If 50 feet between signs puts it in the middle of somebody's driveway, they're gonna move it one way or the other.
But do you see what I'm asking about?
I know what you're asking.
Like, the people will drive,
So the parking law is if you are parked and you know, if you are off the road on private property, you know, if you pull off the road and you park in your own front yard or somebody else's front yard, you're off the road, it's fine. But this is gonna stop people from parking right at
you
the
can't,
edge of
yeah,
the
you can't
road.
have your wheels
If your wheels are on the road, whether this exists or not, we can issue a violation for obstructing traffic. Because if you're on the travel way of traffic, you're obstructing traffic. So what this will do though is stop cars from getting just far enough off the road, but still parking there. So, and we did pass the law for that whole distance.
Yes.
So I think we need to just spend the money.
I just want to propose that we add another 10 signs so that we don't have to reorder them if we.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna
put
let
them-
him order however many things he needs. meetings. I mean, but I think but this is what for that particular job. I'm not gonna, we don't approve every time you get signs. This is just, this money wasn't funded. We still have money left in the budget for more signs. So if he needs to order 10 more signs for something else, he can do that within the budget. But this 14,000 was gonna blast the budget.
I know, but we're gonna have to pay another shipping and freight fee, so I'm just saying, add them on to this. So we don't
Okay.
pay it again, is all I'm
Okay,
saying.
yeah.
That we have them, if we have to replace any or add more onto
Yeah.
the tow path.
I mean, he's gonna be ordering signs throughout the year at various times. We get about 8 or 10 shipments of signs a year at least,
And these are going on both sides of the road?
both sides of the road. This will cover on the local law, the very
Yes,
first
it's
one,
both. Yeah, I see.
both sides from Sampsonville Road to Blossom Lake will be posted as no parking. A lot of signs. Well, we will, but I'm just, are we done discussing? So the motion would be to approve the supervisor to request the highway superintendent purchase the signs, because this is funded out of general fund, and it will be funded out of fund balance.
I'll make the motion to have the supervisor ask superintendent Pride order the signs come out of the fund balance.
I'll second.
I mean, it could come out of contingency. We haven't used the contingency at all yet.
Come out of wherever.
And then if we could also ask that if there's any additional signs he
That
needs
they
to order.
order to say.
Time to save on.
Okay,
You're welcome.
so motion and amended. You want to second it? She amended it.
Oh, I'll second the.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Thank you. This way they'll be in place. He'll get them, he said, by the end of next week. So if he gets the order in tomorrow, by next Friday, we'll have this. The gasoline software upgrade, I got in touch through email with 3 or 4 other companies, and within minutes started getting phone calls. They must all be like sitting right by their computers. So I will have more information on that. I put it on the agenda in case I had any specific information. I don't yet, but I got a lot of replies back today. I should have some other pricing available soon. The well pump, got some very good news. I spoke with Titan, who is coming tomorrow. They're going to pull the existing well pump. They're going to diagnose the problem. And if it needs to be replaced, they will replace it. The total cost should be less than $3,000.
Great.
So the pulling, because it's prevailing wage, he said the pulling would be between $600 and $800 to diagnose it. He's coming between 8 and 10 tomorrow morning. That kind of funding I didn't need board approval for. And even if we do have to replace the pump, we're still in the not needing quotes level. So we'll see. So, yep. The Land Use Leadership Alliance invitation, we got an invitation. You remember you and I went
Yep.
last year. They would like to do one, and Charlotte, you're gonna love this. They want to do one in our town in the fall. And they want to do it to the feasibility of developing affordable housing.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
The question is where, so it would be, they would need to know by June 15th. The question would be, where would it be? Because they meet every other Friday, starting in September through October from 9 to 3:30. Problem is the after school program comes here at 2:30. That's where I thought of, or I thought of, we could ask skate time if we could use that facility even. I think we can find a facility. Worst case is maybe we could even ask the church. We've used the church over there at times.
I'm thinking worst case, we can even maybe ask.
Yeah, well, it's from 9 to 3:30. I don't know if the school's.
Oh, wait, yeah, you said the fall. Sorry, I was thinking it was summer.
No.
I went back to the date.
Yeah. So, I don't think I need a motion. I just have to let her know that we're interested in doing this by June 15th. I think it's amazing. And I will tell you, Charlotte, it's Tiffany who was kind of the host of the housing conference that we went to. And she caught my ear afterward and she said, I'm so glad you're here. We're doing one in the fall for housing and I want to do one in your community. And I was like, great.
Mike, sounds like I'm not sure, it sounds like what they're saying is they do these multiple sites where the town selects a site that's potentially for affordable housing. And then we collect a team of people to create the feasibility.
Correct.
So
Correct.
this would be. like
But
a
we don't have
site.
to have those answers by June
Right.
15th. We just have to say we.
Right, but I'm just saying they're asking for the site that we select to be a potential for housing.
But I figured we could pass that task on to the housing committee to come up with in the next.
Okay,
And they're already working on
in the
the
next couple
housing
months.
site inventory. That's the task from the housing smart
Yeah.
communities that they've been working on. And trying to go for, and I know the county should have. Hopefully they'll have their consultant for that hired to do the review of our town for them to get the ball rolling for them. Because right now it's them just like driving around and being like, hey, this site's for sale.
Oh.
This could be a good
Oh, I see what
one."
you're saying, Eric. They are saying the site address by June 15th. When's your next meeting?
17th, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let me,
no.
let me reach out to Tiffany and say, yes, we're very interested. Can we defer the site address for
Selection.
another month?
yeah.
Yeah, just because our housing committee isn't meeting until the 21st.
Yeah.
So,
Whoever owns the property has to consent.
Yeah.
I mean, they would probably all say 11 to half at this
well,
point,
I-
which the county is.
I actually would love to see us go back to Maple Lodge. Yeah. Personally, because if there's funding involved.
Yeah.
It's-
That would
it's-
be-
I don't
it's
hate that
more-
idea.
It's more units.
That would be cool, because there'd be so much more buy-in, 'cause
Yeah.
you're supposed to get municipal staff, elected officials, like
Yeah.
all these people to come
It-
and work on a. plan
Personally,
to
I
get
think,
that
and I'll be honest, I missed the part. I skimmed it and I saw the June 15th and I didn't see the site address part. But the immediate project that came to my mind was
Do you
revamping
wanna-
Maple Lodge.
Yeah.
I did
think
reach out,
that's
I
what
did, after the conference, I reached out to the gentleman, not the owner of the property, but the other partner. And, yeah, I don't want to say names, but he expressed interest in
Okay.
continuing conversation.
It's exciting.
Well,
to
we
hear.
want to see if maybe the person.
I'll reach out to
who was,
them.
Doing the presentations for him, his name is escaping me, like project manager, if he would be, and if they would be interested.
Kai?
Not Kai, the one that was for the Maybrook.
Oh, yeah,
Just
yeah, I just
they'd
didn't
be
want to, I didn't
interested.
want to say names.
No, yeah, and I can't. But the one who's the person presenting for us, to see if they would be willing to
Right.
let us use them at host and let them be the example that we're using the site that we'd like to.
We wouldn't hold it there, we'd hold it somewhere
No, we
else.
hold it here, but I mean the site that we want to do this. deep
Let me
dive
reach out
into.
and, because the thing about the 11 towpath is we don't have control over it.
No, we do, yeah, and it's hard to get into them.
I know.
But yeah, because I think that I don't see
Well,
why,
and-
like,
and-
the housing committee does want the Maple project to sometime go.
Yeah,
through.
and bear in mind, if
So-
11 towpath reverts back to the owner, then we'd have to negotiate with the owner.
Yeah, so I think the Maybrook is the perfect one for this.
Because they've certainly.
I
expressed
agree with
interest.
that. So if we have to have one, like ask Tiffany if we can have another month, but if not, I think that just propose.
Okay,
The Maybrook.
I will reach out to her and find out. It just, you say when this came last Thursday, so. It's like every day I open up the email and 5 more things show up that need immediate attention, so. Let's skip the meeting dates real quick and just go to the CFA funding. So consolidated funding application. I'm gonna try really hard to go to the next Wednesday's conference from 10 to 11. And hopefully learn more. I've been to a number of them, so I understand the process. We've never really found a project to apply for. One time we did for parks. Actually, twice we applied for parks for CFA and got denied both times. Both times were a total reconfiguration of the existing park. The first year was just the the engineering phase and not the construction. In the second year, we applied for both and got rejected both times. So there's Google search if in your spare time, CFA 2023, and you can see the hundreds of different applications that are available. Bless you. It's almost overwhelming
It's
when
so-
they made them all be one. It made it easier, but it also made it
I know.
so. And when you first look at it, you just like brownfields is a possibility because we did do that phase 1 brownfield study, and we could move to a phase 2, which is underutilized properties. It was between us and Wawarsing. It went from the rescue squad down to 4455. And there were a number in our property, in our town. Brownfield not meaning that they were contaminated, but brownfield meaning the funding came from the brownfield program for underutilized, it's basically adaptive reuse. There were a lot of sites identified between the ambulance squad and 4455 on 209. Okay, let's move to the storage building before we go back to the other one, the dates. So I had a brief meeting, well, not so brief, with Kate and Alyssa. Quite frankly, we are out of room of storage of records. Even though we digitized a lot of them, there's still a requirement that we maintain paper records. They've come up with a proposed size of what we would need for now and for the future. It's sizable. It's about 3,000 square foot building. What I would like to propose, and if the board is okay, I'll put together an RFP to bring to next week's meeting to talk about. Where I would propose it is out back here where the trailer is. Obviously, there's a lot of records in the trailer that would go into this building. The reason doing it there is I still have visions and hope of knocking that barn down and putting something there to replace it. The theory is that if we built back there, everything could eventually connect through to each other. If we were to build where the barn is now, then we're limiting our expansion further. So if in the back, and there's a lot of, I'd have to get out there with the tape measure. There's a lot of space out there. 3,000 square feet is, 40 by 70, 40 by 75, actually. It's not huge. It would be an open air, it would be a not open air building, but open building with no walls. Maybe we would build it a little bit bigger or put an area for Ashley to store stuff in, because right now materials get stored wherever. So if we made kind of an area just for, and you would have to tell me if we could do that with records. I think if they were segregated, wouldn't be a problem. So we could combine it in that. So what I would do is we put out an RFP. I think a building that size, we want to have somebody engineer it. We don't want to just go to a contractor and say, build us a 3,000. So I think we would put out an RFP to an engineer for design cost, estimate of construction costs, and then they would design. We would go out to bids on construction, and then we would. So let me just sort of, it would be climate controlled to the degree that records need, meaning it wouldn't have to be kept at 65 degrees or 70 degrees year round, but you don't want extreme cold, you don't want extreme hot. It would need power for lighting and probably a few wall outlets. It would not need a lot of other types of things. So go ahead.
Is there a sense of what I understand there's immediate need and then there's like future need. What's the scope of the future need? So,
It's immediate need.
but the space, what is the space required for the immediate, and at what point? I'm thinking about how we need other building space for things like meetings and things like that. So one thought that I had is, if we were thinking of this as an addition, I wonder if half of the space could be used like for other things, and to help us then figure out like our building needs in the future. I'm just, 3,000 square feet is a lot, so I was just curious about how many years till we're filling up the whole space.
So, I mean, we have some records that date back to 1700s, but generally, most of our records start around 1920. It's been a lot of things, and then even more around 1980, because that's when building records. We have no space. As it is now, that trailer is completely full. My office is completely full. Stairs in the highway garage is completely full. All places that are not really built. And they're just kind of out there and open for whoever really wants to. I mean, at least highways like that, mine's not, but
So you would
It
want
is
to
going
move
to
all the
just be-
records into
Yes.
one.
facility and have them broken down by department, because also in how I kind of discovered this is I went into the trailer to look for documentation for the fence for the rail trail, and I haven't been in there in a couple of years because I had set up that was the disposition trailer. And I think when renovations were done here and we've had new employees, everything just got shoved in there. There's a lot of permanent records in there. And I do worry that a lot of times when people have foiled things and no records on file, it's just that no one knows what that record is. So I have a great concern.
So we would have one record storage area in this building.
Okay.
And the 3,000 square feet was an estimate based on conversations with Alyssa and Kate, which are the two departments that have the assessor's records could probably continue to be stored as they are now at the assessor's office. But the thought process in doing it here is, one is, they're all in one location. This feels like the better spot where we can do an expansion and not really impact a lot of other activities. If we were to suddenly plunk a 3,000 square foot building down at the town hall, it's going to change traffic patterns, it's going to change highway patterns, it's going to change the park area. And quite frankly, trying to find a place to do that here is an area that's not really utilized. You already have the trailer that's covering up about 400 square feet. You've got the little shed that Ashley's using, which needs to be a new roof or be replaced, one or the other, because it's leaking. And this is all stuff that, when we did that building condition survey, these are not brand new ideas. It's just that Alyssa came to me and I said, let's you and I, Kate and I sit down and talk, and we did. And the answer was loud and clear. We need something.
And it will be a lot of space, but I thought in theory, if we do get electric hookup in there, we can potentially move our scanner over, the big scanner that we purchased in there, and make that the room just for record retention and scanning documents. We have a table set up, if people need to renew plans.
And I would even like to, I would even like to think about possibility, maybe not a definite we're gonna do it, is if we build over there, we can maybe somehow connect it to this building. So people aren't having to go out into the elements and you know. And
Also, you'd have to put a
and a lot-
bathroom if it's not connected.
I don't know that we would. I don't know that we have to have a bathroom in there because it's not for habitation. I don't think,
Office.
it's not an office,
Storage
it's
area.
storage, so you can leave there and come back here to go to the bathroom. I don't think it would require a bathroom. But I think it's too big a building for us to just go to a contractor and say, design us a building and build it.
Well, I think what's nice is there's a ton of prefab buildings that
Yeah.
fit that thing easy, that are significantly less expensive. I know you guys have thought about this long and hard, so I don't want to bring up something that you probably already went down this road, but have we thought about any kind of offsite record storage that doesn't include another capital project? You know, Iron Mountain's down in Rosendale.
So, in
I mean, that might be
in
way too expensive.
2013, I had looked into that,
Mhm.
and it was pricey. It wasn't a huge expense. My issue is it's a cost we will always have
Every year.
every year, and our records just grow every year. So I kind of felt like that was like just putting a Band-Aid on the problem.
I don't doubt it. One of the things that, we still haven't addressed is that building condition survey where,
Well,
we have all the, well, to a degree, but there, just 18 months ago, we talked about a new town hall, so, again, I don't.
Well, we heard resounding, the taxpayers didn't want it right now, and this is, I admit, this is a small stepstone toward that, which is why I sort of, in my mind, I said, build it here, because one option that has been brought up to me by many residents is over there for town hall. Now, I would have to have more conversation, because I was originally told it's too wet there to really build on. And we would have to have some significant studies done to determine if we could actually build there or not build there. But by building in the back, we're at least building it near a facility that we have control over. And I don't deny the fact that we now have zero debt helps. I mean, we're not going to build this with fund balance. We're going to have to borrow money to build this. We know this, but it's something we can kick it down the road. We can try to come up with other options, but paying for a storage facility is money you never receive a return on. Here we have a building that, if down the road it can be used for something else, 20 years from now, it can be used for something else maybe.
That's why I said, I assumed that the other options didn't work there.
So all I'm looking for is a little feedback or input. I'll put together an RFP to bring to you next week to say, yeah, we want to, or if you want to wait a month, I would rather do it next week.
I think I'm fine with.
And it's
the
just an RFP at this
I
point.
like I support it. I was asking the question more to get an understanding of like how much of the space would potentially not be utilized for a little bit, and could there be some sort of flex use? I wonder if it wouldn't I don't know if there's room to also put a classroom or something on to a new structure. I'm just thinking about how we are so out of meeting space, and
I didn't want to get too big because then it gets price prohibitive.
Yeah.
Well, here, I guess my question is, if we start out with 3,000 square feet, if you consolidate the 40-foot trailer, everything else, how much of that space would be used from day one?
I would say probably half.
Half.
Okay.
Still use 1,500 square feet for the pickleball court. But it does give us
Pat,
flexibility.
We just combine 3,000 with the thought of,
We're gonna grow
in the
into it.
next 100 years.
Yeah.
But,
Well, again, we're not creating less documents
Yeah,
than we
exactly.
did 20 years ago.
No. And I hadn't even talked to Kate, but I'm just, in thinking, and I see Ashley, using every little corner, and that shed does need to be replaced. And if we can replace it with, if they take 100 or, 200 square feet of that for their storage space, it's not gonna immediately hurt record storage, but it would solve two problems at once. And with a big open building, it's not that hard to build additions. You know what I mean? It's not like you're building a house that has very defined rooms. In worst case, this is a 2-room house, one little room for storage and one big room for records. It's gonna be one big open space with, a little bit of HVAC in it to keep it climate controlled, and a little bit of power. It's not going to need water hookup. It's not going to need a lot of things. So is it going to be pricey? Sure. We were at sticker shock on the bathroom, but we kind of got to do something, because Kate's not wrong. I mean, you guys don't really have a concept of it, and I don't even really have a concept. I mean, up in the highway, there's every rafter space up there has another box of records. Her office and, the back room, what used to be the meeting room, when they put up that temporary wall, that area is filled. And the assessors of my old office is filled with records. It just,
Not to beleaguer the conversation, because obviously the RFP probably sounds like the right thing to do. What other towns do for the record storage? Does Rosendale have
Rosendale and Marbletown, they lucked out. with
Oh,
having
the school.
they
I
got
know 10 of
empty
Ulster
classrooms
has-
for days.
They utilize. I haven't asked other towns, but.
Benning and Sophus has a big record storage. They got
They
a
have-
new
yes.
town hall.
like I said, I'm in favor of an RFP.
We missed the boat when we didn't go to Marbletown, but that was pre us.
Blackboard just
Stay
moved
in
out of there might be room.
So I'll put the, worst case is we put out an RFP and the prices come back with, right now, that's kind of there's no obligation.
Yeah.
It's just putting together, but I didn't want to go to the effort and work, putting something together for tonight and have all you guys go, no, we're not doing this. So
I get those emails all the time for the barn dominiums. You see
Mhm,
these things and you're like, and they're super affordable and
that size building, there could be a modular that they just bring and put up.
Yeah.
They pour a slab and boom, put up a building around it and put the rafters up.
Put
and
a couple
Put the
split
roof.
units in there and call it a day.
Yeah.
For a start, anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Now, July and August, so we got 35 pages last night. Which was really good, and we did Mary Lou, I don't know that we need you anymore, but if you want to stay, you can, because we may want you at these zoning meetings, I don't know, but, so,
You tell me.
well, probably not, so I think we're good, I apologize, I probably could have said we were good 10 minutes ago, but,
It's okay. I'll forgive you. Everybody have a great night.
oh, wait a minute, let's add Aaron's ad about staff training before we move
Oh,
on.
sure.
Yeah.
So this is something that I mentioned a couple months ago.
Yep.
And I forgot to bring it back to the board. This had come up from staff members that we're having difficulty dealing with the public. And so I agreed to look into some training resources, remembering that the dispute resolution center, which we've had correspondence with in the past, offers trainings. And so I got just a cost from them and talked about what they would cover. It's not for 10 participants. They said there's no cap, but, so they just I wanted to know to get an idea of having like a custom training come specifically for our staff and potentially even members of our boards. So I just wanted to bring this to the board. I know this is something that Kate and I have also spoken about.
Yep.
The staff wanting something like this. I think if we had a lot of staff come, it would be actually a very good price. And so I just wanted to bring it to the board, see what you think, what the next steps would be, but we would have to schedule it directly with their trainers.
Would we do this in your mind for all employees or just the people that are like public facing?
What I would want to do is make a list of like maybe people that we would want to attend and then leave it open, optional for other employees.
Because part of the reason I'm asking is because Michael Richardson has suggested that we've had a turnover of employees since the last time we had a meeting, just talk about the employee handbook.
Yes.
And we are required for the end of the year to do a sexual harassment
Yes.
training.
And those are required.
Right,
trainings.
so what I'm envisioning is that we closed all offices one day. We made a full day of training for everybody, including the highway crew, everybody. But my thought process is maybe the highway, if we didn't bring them to this, that we would do this either in the morning or in the afternoon or something like that. I don't know the answer. Maybe this would be in the afternoon
Mhm.
and we do because highway comes in at 6:30, so I don't know. We would figure all that out.
Yeah.
But tying it all together into one day of training and just close all the offices, close the transfer station, but do it on days where people all worked.
Yeah.
Like a Wednesday or a Thursday where the court officers, clerks were available, everybody. So I think, if we wanted to limit this to more of the public facing employees, that makes more sense to me than like having the highway guys. Although they do occasionally experience situations where people complain on the roadways. I'm not saying it would be beneficial.
Yeah.
So.
I think you should do 8 to 12, the 4-hour training for those interested in that 12 o'clock, bring in remaining employees.
I think,
That lunch time.
I think instead of just doing interested though, we say, 8 to 12, you're coming
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
And that would be the clerks,
Well, yeah.
the
I
people
was
in this,
thinking highway.
yeah. Everybody sort of except highway.
Or you could do, if we do this training in the morning, have Michael Richardson go over to highway and give the sexual harassment training while this one's going on, and then everyone who's in this one
He-
comes for the after.
He doesn't do the sexual, we'd have to bring in another trainer.
Or then do it that way, have them do that trainings, because they don't need this one in the morning, and then have them do 2 sessions, and then the second session in the afternoon after lunch here for everyone that was in this class.
Well, what I was
Isolation
thinking
class.
is the afternoon, do the sexual harassment and the handbook, which would probably equal 4 hours in the afternoon, so.
'Cause my thought is they come in at 6, so if they can actually do work from 6 to lunchtime.
Yeah.
That would be beneficial for them and then come in.
And we can break for lunch at any time, because we're not open, we don't have to break at noon, we could go 8 to 11:30, break for lunch at 11:30, and then bring everybody back here and do 12 to 2:30 for the sexual harassment and this, so then the highway guys still leave on time.
Because the sexual harassment and the handbook would be required for all.
All of
staff.
those. And that's like we could do that in a 2.5 hour time frame.
Yeah.
That's about what we did this last,
Yeah.
so.
So
Um,
yes,
Why don't
So,
you,
Jess,
why
do
don't
you
you
want-
look into some possible dates?
Do you want me to try to coordinate the whole training day with Michael Richardson and do
Sure.
we have a sexual harassment?
don't yet.
trainer, So I could find that?
I have some leads.
Do you
that
wanna
I
send
can-
this to
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
Yeah, then I can just.
Gene Walsh has somebody that they contract.
I was just, yeah,
And actually, Gene and I talked about piggybacking that, like last time we did sexual harassment, we went to Esopus
Mhm.
and did it there. So Jean does it twice a year. She just has her employees, they have to come either one time or the other. But if we can find out her trainer and just find out what they
Okay.
charge,
Sure, I'll reach out to Gene Walsh
yeah, that's
myself.
fine, yeah, that's fine. You wanna reach out and get her trainer.
Yep,
She and I had conversation about it, we just never finished the dialogue.
okay, I will try to get it scheduled and then come back with options.
If I can make a suggestion though, do it after the summer, because you got people doing vacations and stuff, do it after Labor Day.
Yeah, I was gonna say either the week when summer program wasn't in session or September once. Because even with the summer program, they're pretty involved with
Yeah.
Yeah.
the camp. That's when the highway does a lot of the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think we want to try to do this during the summer.
Sure, okay,
I think we do it in the
Yeah.
fall.
okay. And then
Great,
Can the town board provide lunch?
That you can if.
That
it's
we
training
can.
involved.
Yeah.
that we can if it's training involved.
Yeah, I think that would be,
We
Nice.
absolutely can.
if we did like,
Do subs.
yeah, sandwiches.
To Go Deli does a 3-foot sub for a pretty decent price.
Okay,
Somewhere.
great.
Okay,
Well, I'm excited to put this together.
perfect.
I have to do lots of trainings now for my job. And we had one of these this week, which is what triggered
Mhm.
I was like, oops.
Yeah,
forgot
because
about-
you can check with Michael, but I think the combination of the two is doing the handbook and the sexual harassment. could
Yeah.
Probably overlap in a 2.5 hour, because we would want to try to wrap up by 2:30, so we don't
Yep,
have to pay overtime for that.
got it.
And then this training would be for all other employees.
Yeah.
with the exception.
Yeah.
Maybe we would ask the highway secretary, because she takes. phone
Yes.
calls.
Oh, absolutely. He deals with the public all the time. You could possibly offer it to see if they feel as though it's worth
Yeah.
it, because you don't want them to come back
Yeah.
like, why were we not?
Yeah, I think
No, we
should
can
make it
offer to 'em.
optional.
Yeah, we can offer to 'em. I'd rather not say optional, I just don't like that word, because that puts it, either we decide, yes, you're coming, or we decide, no, you're not. Because if we make it optional for the employees, then that kind of messes him up of his staffing. Some people want to come and some don't. I think,
I was saying for the highway employees, you could make it optional for this training for them.
no, and I understand what you were saying. I'm saying we should make it optional. We should decide as a board, either we are bringing the highway guys or we're not bringing them. Making it optional, if some come and some don't, that shortchanges Jeff on the staff for the day.
Oh, see, I was thinking optional for them to decide yes or no with all of us, not,
Okay, if that's what you meant by
Yeah.
optional. So it's not them deciding, I think it's Jeff deciding.
yeah.
I think we need to go to him as the highway superintendent. So and let him decide whether they're coming.
Yeah,
If that's what you meant by optional, when you say optional, I'm thinking you go to each highway guy.
right.
Come if you want or don't come.
Yeah, and we actually don't have that authority. at all.
Right, yeah,
So-
I'm sorry, that's just how I was understanding optional. Okay. Now we're definitely good. Mary Lou, thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it. So, to the meetings. We definitely need, I think, at least 3 more.
Yeah.
Maybe more. Because we have to finish zoning, we have to finish tweaking subdivision, we have to do the schedule, and we have to do the map. And we need to have it all done by probably the August workshop meeting.
Did we
So
not schedule a second session?
we did.
Okay,
June 15th at the firehouse, which is the 3rd Thursday,
okay, got it. I see it now. I
2
couldn't
weeks from
remember.
tonight.
June 15th, that's at the same firehouse?
Yep.
Yeah.
At
I
5
had it- I had it- I had it.
So we need to schedule, I think, at least 3 more meetings. Between now and the end of July or the beginning of August. We have to keep in target because of the October 1st, and I freely admit I should have made it October 5th. By making October 1st, we have to get this referred to the county planning board for their September meeting.
Are we not gonna work on it? I know you said originally that we didn't have a lot for our workshop meeting.
We don't right now, it's short of if, depending on if the granary comes back to us. So we can work on it next Thursday if we want.
I think we should do that.
And then we
schedule-
also have the audit meeting, at some point, we need to reschedule the public hearing, reconvene for the granary, but that will hinge off their response back to us.
So why don't we plan for now, since I think it's hard for us to find days outside of our normal meetings for workshop, the 15th and the audit meeting. Doing
Okay.
like, we'll do the bills first and then go into it at the audit meeting.
Sure.
And stay as long as we
Sure.
can, and same with the work.
So
like the
let's
workshop
do
meeting.
those 3. Just bear in mind that we get legal notice out, we have to do it a couple weeks in advance. So we can't decide on the 29th, hey, let's do a meeting next Tuesday. So
Yeah, but we could decide that on the 15th, right, or the 15th,
could.
and then decide.
We
like,
could see where
how
we-
far we got
yep,
there.
we can
and
see
then
where we stand on the
decide if we
15th
need one
and
more
say-
after the- two after the other.
we're gonna need at least
Because
2 more. after that.
last month, we initially were like, we should schedule like the early Saturday, but then it turned out none of us were
Nobody wanted to
available
do a
on Saturday. I'm fine doing it on Saturday, we just,
We couldn't
none of
find-
us were available.
We couldn't find one in June.
Yeah.
We didn't really look into July and August, so that's why I put this on the agenda tonight. I'm fine with what you're saying, Charlotte, but because we're gonna be doing other items on some of those meetings.
I know, that's what I'm saying, like, see where we're at on the 15th, if we do like a deep dive next week, and then on the 15th, see where we're at the end of that, knowing we have the audit meeting. And then schedule of just like.
Because
3
some of these
July.
sections, we got back like really strong, like the wetlands. Both the county and the ECC and the local planning board more or less said rewrite it. So, I mean, I'm paraphrasing. It's not just a matter of going through and changing a couple words here and there.
Okay, so we're gonna do.
We'll do some next week.
We'll do some next week, and we
The
have a meeting
15th,
on.
we
the
have
15th.
just for zoning, and then we'll
then
decide
we'll
at that
decide,
meeting, at our next meeting.
Yeah, because I think Michael should be here. when we
I was
decide
just,
to
I have them on.
yeah, I was just thinking. Here, for us to
Yeah.
decide that.
Okay, fair enough. Get out of here.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
In memory of Janine Raquel, Thomas William Behringer, Shirley J. Avery Lyons, Raymond Lawrence, Armenia DeSanto, Bell Ann Lee, Myrna Elizabeth Foncree, Jonathan P. Shealy, Gordon Mike Eves, all suffering from gun violence and the people of Ukraine. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.